Hey, hello, this is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Sorry I'm a little late today. The power went out in my neighborhood and everything shut down, including my computer. And then when I rebooted it, it did a million updates. I'm one of those crazy people that just leaves my computer running all the time. So God knows how long it's been since I actually did an update on my computer, So I was just sitting there like tapping my feet, or come on, come on, come on. Plus, my computer's on the verge of dying anyway, so it's it's gonna take forever. You know what I mean? So my mouth needs an update, and my hair needs a haircut. So anyway, this is a series that I've been holding off on for a while. This is a group of comics, the Project Pegasus saga. So for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to do, just pretty much concentrate on these Marvel 201s, a few of which I've already done before. So I'll probably, maybe, I don't know, I'll do them again. I don't know. But this this was a series that I got as a kid, and this was before the comic book stores. What is this, 1978? Or before I knew about comic book stores. So I read these out of order because I found them out of order. You know, I recently, when I say recently, I'm talking about in the last 15 years, reread all of the Marvel 2-in-1s. This series has a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And I'll say that the highs in this series are awesome. Awesome. Like Marvel 2-in-1 Annual 2 is one of the best comic books ever made. The culmination of the Warlock series. And then there's just so many just obvious fill-in stories that are just never referenced again. Obvious rush jobs. But same with Marvel Team Up. Marvel Team Up, the Spider-Man Team Up book. The Chris Claremont, John Byrne run is phenomenal. Phenomenal. And then there's just like a lot of throwaway stuff. So oh, geez, I got a lot of comments. Stippling Vaughn is here. How you doing, Stippling? For Stippling good time, check out Stippling Vaughn's channel. He it seems like he does like he has a routine like me. He comes in, he pops in here, watches my video, then he goes to a bar and live streams while doing his art. And his art is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Stippling, do you do like because I might as well say it now, because if my comic Heroic Tales 2, it's just under $2,000. If the momentum climbs, I'll hit my personal goal. The comic funded, and I put a low number because the comic already funded, because Heroic Tales 1 is paying for Heroic Tales 2. So I'm the opposite of some of the other people that you may see in crowdfunding, whereas you have to crowdfund the second campaign to retroactively get the first campaign. Mine is different. I paid for issue number 1 out of pocket. So issue 1 was going to happen. So that's why I put the funding goal so low, because it was already going to happen. Now, because issue 1 did so well, issue 2 is going to happen. No matter what, it's going to happen. It's already paid for. The money's already allocated. It's already paid for. What is in question now is issue 3. So any money that is coming in now is for the next campaign. Again, completely opposite to what other people may be doing, who are going to start a crowdfund in a couple of weeks to pay for stuff that they already collected money for 2 or 3 years ago and never delivered. So you got to pay for it twice. Not me. Not only do you not have to pay for it twice, but yeah, it's like half the price of their vaporware. But anyway, since I'm talking about stippling, my next crowdfund campaign is going to be the Patriarch number 1, and I stayed up way too late last night because I got excited about an idea. I already wrote the script for the Patriarch number 1, but that was when I thought it was going to be half of Heroic Tales. Now that it's going to be its own issue, I can expand it. So basically, you're going to get 2 Heroic Tales Patriarch stories merged into one issue of the Patriarch. So it's going to be, I don't know. I don't know how many pages. I don't know how many pages. It always changes when I give it to Renzo, but that's fun. That's seeing his interest. his interesting take on things I write. But anyway, I'm babbling. So that's going to leave Heroic Tales to have two different heroes. And one of the heroes in Heroic Tales is always going to be off. I'm always offering to Renzo first, and whatever one he wants to pick, he's going to pick. Like he has a affection for Mary Sue, so he's going to always draw Mary Sue. He also picked the Raven. So, but the other ones, I might ask other people. So if Stipling Vaughn, if you know your rates are reasonable, and if you do page rates, you're one of the guys I'm thinking about. So the Earth must become a. Did Galactus cough or something? No, but I've been coughing. I've been coughing all week. Friday there was welders at work. For those of you who don't know, I'm a construction worker. I go to work every day, come home every day, and my job is the material handler. Make all the jokes you want. I'll handle your material. But at a job site, when you got 80 electricians, you can't just stop what you're doing. Every day, there's 6 or 7 trucks that come in and deliver stuff. So I got to take it, all the stuff off the trucks, off the loaded docks, get to the area. It's a lot of work, but you're all day long, and you got to move. And there's 18 buildings, so it's all over the place. You know, sometimes you get the electric pallet jack and you're going through the tunnels and it's fun. Sometimes you're literally lugging a broken thing with, you know, a shopping cart, one wheel is going the other way. Oh my God. And the tunnels go up and down, and you know what I mean? So it's rough. It's fun, but I'm losing weight, and I think I'm building muscle mass. I think I'm back to my pre-accident shape. So let's continue this athletic journey. But anyway, there was guys welding, and there was just a blue cloud of fumes, and I went right through it. I was like, I'll be a second, you know. I can only blame myself because I just wanted to drop this off because another truck was coming. You know what I mean? You got to go. And I don't know. I just inhaled these fumes, and I've been coughing ever since. I just feel like it's slowly moving up. So I'll be coughing. Me and Galactus. Good morning, John. Chat just pop by and say, hey, Mark's Music Obsession. Cool. Mark, oh, you where did you see me from? I forget, but you were a fan of somebody else. He was either on my channel and I was on his channel, and you've been popping in. It's good to see that. That's like how positive this is. You know, we cross pollinate each other and help each other out, stay positive. It's a lot of fun. Oh, I got my blessing, Zach Tan. I got my wife and I went to see The Chosen last night, the 3rd part of the new season. So we already saw the new season before it's on TV, but you have to pay for it in the movies. It was a lot of fun. Hey, Marcus. Sure, let's talk. Okay. All right. So, wow, we got a lot of people watching. Usually I don't have to filibuster this long. So I want to say a few things before we start. Most importantly, my comic Heroic Tales #2 is on, it's on, maybe the fumes destroyed my brain, not just my lungs. It's on Fund My Comic right now. It's doing pretty good. What do I have? 62 backers. Wow, I got 2 more backers since the last time I checked it out. 62 backers. We're just under $2,000. $3,000. Once I hit $3,000, every $1,000 after that, I unlock a card. The first card will be Mary Sue. Let's talk shop for a second. The most important thing is Tuesday. Well, the most important thing is Back My Comic. The second most important thing is this Tuesday. I forget exactly what time, but Narwhal, who real secret identity is Per Berg, myself, and Jason Sandberg, who does the wonderful comic Jupiter, we're gonna launch a monthly comic book talk show, and we're gonna talk about one of my favorite comics, Mr. X. And I know me, I'm gonna give spoilers about Heroic Tales because Mr. X is super influential to Heroic Tales. It's a comic book that I got off the shelf as a kid. I remember distinctly buying the first issue of Mr. X, going to a White Castle in Limbrook, New York. If Pete Rock is watching right now, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. And Marcus probably knows too. And I just sat in that White Castle. I read my weekly comics. Back then I'd go every week to the comic, and I just remember just fascinated by Mr. X, to the point I reached out to Paul Revoche. Is that how you say his name? Paul Revoche was the original artist and co-creator of Mr. X along with Dean Motter. But then he got a job, so he he got a full-time job, so he kind of backed away, and it was given to the Hernandez brothers and Paul Ravoche, but they used all of Paul Ravoche's designs, and so I reached out to him to see if he would do a map for Science City for Patriarch #1, and yeah, he actually was interested in it. I sent him preliminary sketches. It's just I couldn't afford them. I got to be realistic. I mean, the money that I raised now wouldn't be enough. He gave me cheaper versions, but the cheaper versions I wasn't, go big or go home, right? So there we go. But that shows you how influential Mr. X is. That I still want to work with Paul Ravoche in some capacity, maybe a cover or something. But he's so, and I love it because he's such a conspiracy guy too. He was on my channel. We talked for a long time. The next thing I want to talk about is everybody seems to be flipping over King Fu. King Fu. If I was smart, I would have had him prepped. But King Fu is he shows up in the Patriarch story for okay, I'm trying to find it. Okay, cards. There we go. Oh no, that's not it. Promotional. Okay, collector's cards. Okay, there we go. So King Fu shows up in a cameo in the Patriarch story. I had to. My friend Jimmy demanded that I use King Fu, and I'm so glad he did. I'm so glad he did because it changed the course of Mighty Rivers. Like I saw, since I updated, I signed out of everything. So every time I use anything, I got to sign in, and I don't remember passwords. So this is King Fu for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. Here he. Oh, there's King Fu. So let's hide the current comment, and let's reduce this so we can see him in all of his gloriness. So King Fu is an homage to Elvis. I'm a big Elvis fan. Elvis got me this house that I live in. I told that story. I've always liked Elvis, and I just thought it would be funny and cool to have I literally only planned to have him as a cameo. He just shows up. I thought I don't know. I just thought, whatever. But he's been in my role playing game, no joke, for like 20 years. He's one of the original 12, which will that'll be a vague reference to a storyline later on. He's the world's greatest martial artist and Elvis impersonator. His secret identity is Kenny Kim. He's Korean, and he talks like Elvis. He's a hunka burning love. So I look at this artwork that Renzo. So I drew a picture, sent it to Renzo. Renzo, of course, did this. Then Renzo sent the colors to Oscar, and I told Oscar he has a white with gold, and Oscar said no, he doesn't. He has gold with green, like Iron Fist. And I was like, oh, okay. And then, to be vague, Oscar suggested something about him that I didn't think of. That I said no right away. I said, no, that's not how he works. And then I can't help but think about it, and I'm like, God damn, Oscar, you did it again. You did it again. That's the way he works. And I'm being vague. I'm being vague on purpose. But anyway, I got such a good reception from him that in Heroic Tales 3, Mary Sue teams up with, because Mary Sue learns that she can't fight. So she's going to team up. She's a college student. She's a 110 girl. You know what I mean? She's going on a journey. She realizes I'm helpless. Like it or not, I got to learn how to fight. So she gets a martial art mentor, and it was another hero. And I'm like, why not King Fu? Why everybody likes him? Give him a story. So King Fu has been dramatically expanded to the point that I got a really good story that I want to tell about him, and I'm being vague on purpose. But anyway, there's King Fu. That'll be one of the cards. The cards are getting unlocked in order of like appearance of importance to the story. So Mary Sue is going to be unlocked first because Patriarch has already been unlocked in the last campaign. So it'll be Mary Sue, the Subterranean, the others, Philip Manning, all of them. So the farther, the shorter their appearance, the make people work for King Fu. You know what I mean? Back the comic. You want King Fu card? It's already done. It's already done. Didn't print it yet, but the art is done on the front, and the stats are done on the back. All the cards are pretty much done. At least not all of them are colored, but that'll take a quick time. So that's King Fu. That's the saga of King Fu. Oh my God, a lot of comments. Oh, yep, everybody's anticipating King Fu versus Maul. There you go. No spoilers on the choice. Even if I tell you Jesus dies at the end. That's my joke. I said it last night, and people are like, that's not funny. Cool. My family and I are looking forward to the Chosen next season. Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. This is not a spoiler. I'm just going to say the High Priest Caiaphas, he stole the season. What a great actor. What's his name? Something Nancy. David Fancy, Peter Nancy, something like that. Oh my God. I could only, that old guy with the beard. I just, if I had a time machine, I would put him in Deadwood. What a great actor. Wouldn't he be more mysterious if we didn't know his pronouns? Pronouns. I'm just so glad that's. We're gonna, in 10 years from now, we're gonna look back and be like, we were crazy. We were drinking crazy juice. Good morning, John and Chat. Crenshaw. Crenshaw might be the face of the patriarch. Message me, Crenshaw. Message me. Paul Roach does amazing design work. He worked on backgrounds for Batman Beyond. He would have killed. I know he would have. He absolutely would have. And he deserves every dollar he gets. I just can't afford it. You know what I mean? Unless everybody backs, back 16 copies, you know what I mean? And I got money to burn. I can't afford it. I got to be realistic. It's a bit, unfortunately, it is a business. Paul Roach is a genius. He's super talented, and he deserves to get remunerated for his work. There's a reason why I can't afford John Byrne. You know what I mean? Is he really dead? Come on, really? I don't. Spoilers. Read the book. All right, Heroic Tales number 2. And what else was he going to? All right, so that's enough filibuster. Wow, we got 40 people watching. I remember when it was like me and 3 people. Abrax and his wife. I can't remember her name. If Abrax and or his wife is watching, pop in the chat, say hello. I kind of miss you guys. War Duke I miss. And one of my first guests, he was just a guest, and he came on the channel and we talked. And that's gonna drive me nuts that I can't remember his name. About how they're doing. War Duke, you and your buddy, if you're watching, say something in the chat. Lacey Lee. Wow, speak of the devil. This is the woman that I was just referencing. How are you doing, Lacey? How's Abrax? Good. Your ears must have been burning, huh? Oh, good. You've been in my chats and Sunday comics for so long that when you stopped commenting, I can't help but worry. Like, are they okay? How's everything? Hey, but all right. Now, if only War Duke, these are like my 3 original. Well, there's 4 original, and it's driving me nuts that I can't remember his name. It's funny. I have all his contact information, but I'm not going to look through my phone right now. But, I was brushing my teeth. I didn't brush my teeth yet. I must have. Good thing this doesn't have a stench sense. I had the most insane dream last night. Speaking of stench, I dreamt that I have this recurring dream. Everybody has that dream that they're still in school or whatever, but I have this dream that I'm still in Albuquerque. I used to live in Albuquerque, and I got to get back to New York for work. For whatever reason, I'm in and I don't have any money, and I'm taking like a bus, or for whatever reason, like a subway train from Albuquerque to New York, and I'm on like a bus or a subway train for like 3 days. But it's not like an Amtrak, it's like a subway. So it's gross. And I'm just smelly, and I'm gross, and I'm hungry, and I can't sleep, and it's just the worst. And I'm just traveling. And always on the stream, somebody from my childhood gets on the train, and they're clean and nice and happy, and they just think I'm a bum. So Karen Delaney, I haven't seen her since third grade. Gets on the train, and I'm smelly and gross. My hair's crazy, and she's pretending she doesn't. I'm like, Karen, nah, we went to school together. And she's like, there you go. That's a little insight into my psychology. All right, that's focus. Oh, I got to respond to this. I dreamt I was at a bar with Britney Spears, Richie Blackmore, and Princess Diana. Not sure why, but we had a great time. What do you mean, not sure why? Those three people and you're gonna have a good time. You're gonna have a good time. Britney Spears is gonna be like the hot mess that's just gonna like attract all attention, good or bad. Richie Blackmore is so interesting. I could talk to him all night. And Princess Diana, I assume in this alternate dream world she wasn't killed, or maybe whatever. I could get a whole conspiracy story out of that. But I would like to ask Princess Diana questions. That would be fun. I don't know why those three too. Yeah, I know. I don't know why Karen Delaney. I haven't talked to her since third grade. All right. All right. So let's talk about this. So Project Pegasus is like a legendary story in Marvel. They even referenced it in the Marvel universe. The Marvel Universe movies, the MCU, and I think it was just built together like Lego piece by piece. And so this is issue 42, and this first appearance of Project Pegasus, and then it's like 5-6 months later they come back to it. I was like, oh, okay, we got something here. So here we go. Let's check this out. Marvel 2-in-1 presents The Thing and Captain America. So Marvel 2-in-1 is a team-up book. Believe it or not, The Thing, I think, what do you guys think? The Fantastic Four, The Thing, Ben Grimm is the most popular member of the Fantastic Four. But in the early days of the Fantastic Four, the Human Torch was the most popular member of the Fantastic Four, and he was rewarded with his own spin-off series of half of Strange Tales. So Strange Tales was originally a horror sci-fi anthology series back when Marvel was Atlas Comics. And then after the birth of Fantastic Four, Atlas Comics became Marvel Comics, and Strange Tales, which was Steve Ditko's home comic. Steve Ditko drew everything in that, morphed into a superhero title, and it was the Human Torch, and then the other half was sci-fi monster, blah blah blah, and then around 110, not around, on 110, it became Doctor Strange, and then it was the Human Torch, Doctor Strange, Human Torch, Doctor Strange, and then it became Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Doctor Strange, and that's the way it was forever. But so that lasted for a while. The Human Torch kind of faded, and then Ben Grimm, the thing, elevated, and I think Ben is still the most popular member of the Fantastic Four. There's something lovable about him. Kids love monsters, but he's like a monster that's like a friendly monster. He's just perfect. He's just perfectly designed comic book character. I'm not going to say he's a perfectly designed superhero, but he's a perfectly designed comic book character. Just so lovable. He is the lovable thing. And I'm glad we didn't see Diana age. Yep. The Thing is the only FF member to get his own ongoing series. Yep. Yeah. He had this was his original series, and then he had a Thing series originally by John Byrne. So yeah, right now, do you think he's the most popular? I bet you when the movie comes out, I bet you that his toys will sell the most. I know there's a public domain Atlas character, but did Marvel have an Atlas character? I don't know. Is there an Atlas? Marcus, you're watching. Is there a Marvel character named Atlas? Yes. In the Thunderbolts, yes, there's a character named Atlas. I have a character named Captain Atlas. He will be in issue 1 of the Patriarch, although he has a cameo in Heroic Tales number 2. And the only way you'll get to know his name is if we unlock his card. But I think in the letters page, I'm gonna have like a box with just their names in it, so everybody gets to know their names. Uh, but yeah, there's a lot of cameos in this issue because the story wise it let room for the. But anyway, Captain Atlas is tied to the Patriarch in his origin, or is it? But so I have a Captain, and Captain Atlas is the ultimate superhero. He's the Superman of my universe. I love Doctor Strange, Ben Grimm pair up stories. Sometimes you didn't even know Doctor Strange was there. Yeah, again, I just saw Dave Brink of Genuine Comics, and Dave, if you're in the chat, shout out, say hello. He does a wonderful comic. He said he doesn't like magic characters, and I totally understand that. I totally understand that because magic characters, you get to pull whatever solution you want out of your butt. Which is why when I introduce my magic character, I'm not going to tell you his name yet. I would like to have his spell book published. You know, just his spell book. These are the actual powers. These are the actual spells that he has. So you know, he can't just pull Razzmatazz out of his butt. You know, that would be Razzmatazz. That would be kind of painful, but you know what I mean. So because like I said, my comic book is superheroes plus Dungeons and Dragons with H.P. Lovecraft, you know, sprinkled liberally throughout the series. So you better believe my magic character has a limited book of spells. In terms of costumes, I definitely agree. More thing than any of the others. As far as what what exactly are you referencing? In the fact that he's a perfectly designed comic book character? Because, like I said, I think the Thing is one of the greatest comic book characters. I don't necessarily think he's one of the best superheroes, although he's my second favorite. But I think I could be objective enough to say that there's objectively better superheroes than the Thing. But he's emotionally one of my favorites. You know, like Superman, obviously, Spider-Man, Batman, Captain Marvel, Shazam. You know, these are all objectively better designed superheroes than the Thing. But I just love the Thing. Captain Atlas versus the Tartarians. No comment. Has everyone here shared the link to the show? Good question. I'm terrible at YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, you know, super chat, whatever you want. You know, I got all of that stuff. Subscribe, but I try not to sound like an OnlyFans girl. Oh, in Halloween costumes. Yeah. Because the rest of the Fantastic Four are uniforms rather than costumes, and there is a difference. There is a difference. The early X-Men had uniforms. The later X-Men had costumes, and there is a difference. In reference to this, yeah, like, share, subscribe. I got the super chat option. I got memberships that, you know, are worthless. How's that for being a terrible salesman? I got nothing to offer. I don't know what to offer as far as memberships. If anybody has any suggestions, I'm all ears. And I was thinking of starting an OnlyFans page where OnlyFans page where I just have pictures of Olyphants from Lord of the Rings, you know, and then like maybe get like Stippling Vaughn to draw an Olyphant, you know, and have an Olyphants page. Okay, thought of that joke last night. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so let's begin. If you can see over here, it's 1978 Marvel Comics. What is the sinister secret of Project Pegasus? And this cover is drawn by George Perez and Terry Austin. One of the, you know, George Perez, Terry Austin. Terry Austin to me is immediately one of the most stratospherically high rated artists because I just fell in love with his John Byrne, Terry Austin ink. Oh my God, that is the best. Like Terry Austin is my favorite inker because he's, you know, emotionally connected to some of my favorite comics. And I think George Perez, Pablo Marcos is my favorite. George Perez layouts, Pablo Marcos inkers, but Terry Austin is just so cool. Look at this. You know, so you could see, could you see right here? Perez Austin. Just look at this. The Cosmic Cube. You know, chaos is the Cosmic Cube. Look at that. That is just glorious. I'm starting to think that maybe I should rotate this another, you know, long ways and get the whole page. What do you guys think? All right, so free booklet. There you go. There's a picture of Marcus Hey, Marcus, get the shape. Make sure they show the bulge. Lacey Lee's watching too. You got to show the bulge. And then a little bit of bait and switch. This kind of stuff always bothered me. When they have a different artist. I like to think that everybody understands that in my comic book, you get Renzo goodness inside. And, you know what I mean? Like, so the variant cover is a variant cover. I don't think I'm tricking anybody. I'm trying to get this to be level. There we go. There we go. Nice and level. Trying to get the bottom line to be completely parallel to the. Okay, there we go. So this is a bait and switch. So we got Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, is writing this, and we got Sal Buscema and Al Alcala and S. Granger artists. So that's always a bad sign. To me, when you get more than two artists on book, that means it was rushed. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but there, like I'm trying to think if there's any like artist teams that just are just notoriously working together and then have an inker. I can't think of one off the bat, but I'm sure there is one. The back of my mind is telling me there is one, but I can't recall it to the frontal lobe of my brain because it's broken. But when I see Sal Buscema out, John Buscema's less famous brother. Does that mean to say? And then Alfredo Alcala, one of my favorite inkers. Oh my God. And S. Granger. So I don't know. Was it rushed? We got Joe Rosen, letterer. Nel Yomtov, colorist, as a name you don't see too often. Roger Stern, editor. And Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. And then going forward, I'll talk about the page and then address the comments later. So Marcus slips in. At this time, Marvel didn't really like Sal Buscema's covers. Yeah, I noticeably there was like all of a sudden Sal Buscema kind of disappeared. And Sal Buscema said something. Well, I saw it on Twitter today, so I don't know how long ago he said it. But somebody said it on Twitter today, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. That Sal Buscema thinks that the demise of comic book sales, we can all agree that comic book sales are is the demise of the Marvel method. The Marvel method was Stan Lee recognized that he had geniuses working for him. He recognized that he had Jack Kirby, that he had John Romita, he had Steve Ditko and guys like that. So he didn't need to hold their hands. So Stan Lee was running the company. He was writing all the things. He was doing all the publicity. So he would just like, okay, this is the idea for the story. And Jack would be like, okay, I got the idea for story. Okay, so, and he would give him an outline, one-page treatment, whatever. And then Jack, Sal, John, and Steve would go home and basically draw out the comic. And they would draw it out in such a way that the story was told throughout the art. And then Stan would go back and put in the dialogue and caption boxes. And then the editor would put little editor notes. You know what I mean? So the artist did most of the heavy lifting as far as telling the story. Like when I work, I give Renzo a script, and Renzo works off my script. He has input, of course, and of course I listen to Renzo and Oscar, but for the most part, the story's all mine. Like how many like Renzo decides this panel's bigger, this panel's big. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I'm the guy who does the story. But Marvel, and he says it lent itself to action, dynamicism, and exploration and imagination. And he says now when it's just a script, he goes, it just feels dead and lifeless, and it turns it into a movie script rather than a comic book script. And he says comics just don't have that action and imagination that they used to. What do you guys think? Because I've been hearing for 20 years that the Marvel method was bad. That the Marvel method was bad to the point I never would have considered doing a comic Marvel method, and now I hear Sal Buscema, and Sal's a legend. You know what I mean? You gotta, it is an argument from authority, but this is an authority that is a legit, so this is, I'd like to consider that that I'm open-minded in the sense that information can change my opinion. So this is information that is being digested in my noggin. Like, I was thinking maybe as an experiment, I'll do a Marvel Method story in Heroic Tales. I don't know. So there we go. We got Ben Grimm smashing through. Not my favorite drawing of Ben Grimm, but it's good. This is almost like, I hate to say it, like coloring book quality. Bam, Project Pegasus. So Ben is just smashing in. Don't call. Don't make a reservation. Don't just be like, hey, how you doing, guys? I'm Ben. I'm gonna come over. I'm smashing in. Gangway, I'm coming through. Intruder alert. And we got Cripes. He's busted through 6-inch titanium steel. Cripes. I always loved Cripes. It's a Christ and crap just mixed together. You know what I mean? Like two things you shouldn't say in a comic book. Although you could say crap now, but I just love Cripes. It's one of those curses that only exist in a comic book. Outside of the comic book, nobody says Cripes. And like there's words that exist only in, like the Magia, because Marvel wasn't allowed to say the Mafia. And somewhere along the line, they split the two groups. The mob, the mob has the Magia and the mob has the Mafia. And the Mafia is what we know as the Mafia, the mob, regular guys with guns and stuff like that, gangsters, Robert De Niro and, things like that the Punisher goes after. And then the Magia is got high tech. So the Magia is the high tech version of the mob. And the superhero, the supervillain version. And I like that. Count Nefaria runs the Magia, whereas Don Francisco runs the Mafia. But these are all, and the Zombies, instead of zombies, these are words invented by comic books to get around the Comics Code Authority. All right, so I'm going to address the comments, and then we're going to go page by page. So, oh, wow, a lot of comments. Thank you, guys. I love this. This just shows that you're engaged. Thank you so much. There's a terribly painted version of that inside cover muscle guy in one of the buildings here in downtown Boise. Oh, this guy? Really? Could you take a picture of it? Oh, my God, that would be funny. Take a picture of it, put it on Twitter and at me. That would be funny. That would be funny. I'm just curious. Having a team of artists is one thing, but any project needs to have a unified vision. Yes, I am of the opinion that the less amount of people involved in a project, the better. I reference Parks and Recreation, the episode called The Camel, where they were having a contest. Each department was going to put a painting in the hallway, because the old paintings were considered like old-fashioned and racist or whatever. So they were going to update it with, and then each department wanted equal input from each person who worked in the department. So it was just like a melange. Not even a melange. A melange means they all work together. It was just a mishmash, as a patchwork that made no sense. And that's and then the white guy, I forget his name, who only lasted one season. He was just like, this is artwork by committee. It's, he says a camel is a horse designed by committee. And I thought that was just brilliant. I really like that show, Parks and Recreation. That episode's one of my favorites, in the fact that it's a thinking episode. It really made me think about stuff. It solidified stuff that I already knew but didn't know how to articulate. So there you go. Parks and Recreation. I think it's season 1. The episode is called The Camel, and it's the first episode of Parks and Recreation I've ever seen. My wife and I went to Toronto. We were in this big skyrise in a tiny room, and we would did a lot of walking that day. We would just lay in bed, turn on the TV, and that was on. And I was like, I've heard the show was pretty good. So there you go. Apropos of nothing. We now have a new superhero name, Renzo Goodness. Renzo is a saint. Renzo is the best. Renzo had a hard year, and now he's back, and he's better than ever. Captain Verbosity has the power to text wall to protect people. A script is a script. Okay, Sipling Vaughn is commenting on Marvel method versus the script method. So what do you think? Either way works? Either way work? Is that your stance? Is that how I'm interpreting your comment? Good morning from Prater 7. I think it's a balance. When I work with my artists, I give detailed notes because I'm going for a certain mood. But when I do run out of panel suggestions, I just tell them what works best. Yeah. you know, I made one comic so far, and I wanted my comic to be what I wanted unapologetically, and I gave detailed notes. Renzo gave input, and for the most part, his input was perfect. You know, I don't think I ever said no. The only thing I said on was like a specific design on a character. I'm like, no, it has to be like this, you know. And then the only other thing, like, this has to be emphasized, but not obvious, because it's a you know, Easter egg for future. You know, is that what is that called? Foreshadowing or whatever. You know, so, you know, emphasize it, but don't let people know you're emphasizing it, kind of thing. And then Renzo said the saddest thing to me, broke my heart. He goes, "Can I do the cover for the comic? I never get to do covers." And I was like, "Of course you're doing the cover. I never thought otherwise." And to me, I was just like, I figured do all the pages and then do the cover, and then, you know what I mean. So he has a feel for everything. But then I started to realize we needed to do a cover before. You know, he was about 10 pages into it. I'm like, we got to do a cover now so I can build a campaign. So I just said, you read the script, you're drawing it, do whatever you want. I no input on that cover. That's all Renzo. You know, I had input on the color because originally it was it just didn't look right. So I told Daniel to have it set at night. Have it set at night. And then it just, I hate this term, but I'm going to use it. It just popped. Marvel method spurs creativity. Okay. Yeah, obviously. I mean, we can't argue. Look at it. But I think it works if you have geniuses like Kirby, John Romita, Sal Buscema, you know, Steve Ditko. If you have Joe Slobotnik, I think you need to hold his hand. Or better yet, don't hire Joe Slobotnik. The Marvel method seems to have worked for Marvel better than having no method or methodical. Right. It obviously worked. Marvel method is best for commercial printing that requires a schedule. Crowdfunding is a lot looser. Yes. Cripes is fun. The old Marvel method works when you allow your artist to stay with the title for a decent amount of time. There you go. That's a good point. That is an excellent point. Good point. Yeah. The Marvel method works if you have an artist team, writer, artist, inker, team, colorist that get the character and understand the character. Good point. Really good point. If you got the artist switching out art teams every 3 issues, yeah, good point. Excellent point. Darkside Comics is here. How you doing, Darkside? How's everything? Darkside is. Marvel went away from the Marvel method because it made superstars of the artists. Eventually, Image was found, and they gave the powers to the writer. Yes. You're absolutely right. You know, how many? I'm raising my hand already. How many people followed comics because of the artists? How many people followed the artists? Oh, I just thought of a good. It's clobbering time. Artists versus writers. What do you think about that, Marcus? Artists versus writers for It's Clobbering Time. How many people followed comics because of the writers? I'm also guilty. And I think the first writer, I may be wrong, I'll think about this, but the first artist that I followed rather than a writer, I think, was Alan Moore. Good morning, Jolly. How you doing? Mark Brandowitz, played by Paul Snyder. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Barrett X. New name. Yes, Mark Brandowitz. An underrated character, and he left the show because he said they didn't have anything for him, which I think was a mistake. But there's no denying that the show exploded once what's his name, the one who ended up marrying Leslie Knope and her boss showed up. Yep, exactly, Marcus. I was trying to let John say it. Thank you. Letting my mind get to the point is an exercise in fertility. Success is when the writer respects the artist's creativity and abilities. Good. Okay, I didn't mean to insult any of the Joe Slobotnik fans. I understand that every artist is somebody's big fan. No disrespect to you know, I'm just not Joe Slobotnik's biggest fan. Wasn't Joe an Image artist? If he was, I bet you his characters was all splash pages and no feet and no story. What makes the writer smarter than the artist? Never said that. I never said that. I'm good, John. Thank you. Hope you're well too. I'm doing good. Logic Finest. Morning all. Support to John and Marcus. Great work on last night, Marcus. Yes. What he's talking about is the studio over at Don Draws Stuff. They pick a character and they all draw it and talk about it. It's a lot of fun. It's like just hanging out with a bunch of artists. You know, they bust on each other. It's fun. I showed up late because again I went to the movies with my wife. I would get too angry. What gets you angry? What gets you angry? Artists or writers, we write with images. Yes. I will say this. Maybe that's the wrong terminology, and I'm not going to fight with Stipling. He looks like he's been around the block a few times. But I would say that they're both storytellers, but writers write and artists draw. How's that? But they're both storytellers. And comic books, I flatter myself calling myself an artist, but calling myself a writer. I flatter myself, but I will admit that it's 60-40 when it comes to comic books. Maybe even 70-30. The art should tell most of the story, and the words should only tell what can't be conveyed by the art. That's what I think. Oh, I'm the Joker from Velvet Room Publishing. Oh, okay. I have seen you around before. Good to see you. Thank you for coming in. That's nice. I follow writers mostly, but I love great art as well. I couldn't stand Image's first wave. Yeah. I tried to. I admit that I got caught up in the enthusiasm, but I just wasn't in it. I just wasn't. Also, don't forget the rare breed of writer artists like John Byrne. He did free 32 issue of X-Men Elsewhere run, his best work ever. Yeah. John Byrne's one of my favorite comic book writers. You know, and one of the best comic book writers. I put John Byrne on a higher pedestal than Chris Claremont. I'm sorry. Let's fight. John is anti-writer. No. I love writers, but when it comes to comic books, the art is 70% of the story. You know what I mean? You know, like this image of this guy's face holding the stick and everything like that. A picture is worth 1,000 words. This is 1,000 words. This is 1,000 words. This is 1,000 words. You know what I mean? Comic books have to be majority art as far as storytelling. They have to be. Otherwise, it's not a comic book. Otherwise, you got a pulp novel where it's just text and then a picture. Text. You know what I mean? And then we got, look at this double page spread over here. Entropy. We got Captain America diving out. Woo! And as a kid, I was a stupid kid, and I'm kind of a dumb adult. As a kid, I thought Captain America could fly, and I remember arguing with my brother. Captain America flies. Captain America could fly because I have my Captain America Mego figure flying around. My brother's like, Captain America doesn't fly. Yes, he does, because I would see. Before I could read, I would see pictures of Captain America jumping like that, and that means he flies, right? To a dumb kid who couldn't read. Remember, I only learned to read in 3rd grade. So I ain't no mood for clowning with you meatballs. What a great line. Oh my God. That's Shakespeare. I ain't no mood for clowning with you meatballs. Oh my God. I want to get that tattooed right on my forehead. Right there. Maybe that'll get me a seat on the subway, right? Just stare at people. Pick up my hoodie. I ain't no mood for clowning with you meatballs. Oh my God. You know what? Before I forget, so I could take a picture, show it to my tattoo artist, I got to take a picture of that. There we go. You could, how's that? I'm incepting you a picture. And, all right. So there you go. And look, we got all these guys in janitor uniforms, sticks. Let me handle this. He is Captain America. Dun, dun, dun. Just look at that. Now, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of this 2-page spread? Is it worthy of a 2-page spread? Is it filler? What do you guys think? While you guys are pondering that, I'm going to go back to the comments. So Darkseid it's a visual medium. It has to pull readers in. Absolutely. I don't think this is too controversial to say that comic books, people get attracted by the art and they stay for the writing. I got pulled in by Image, even though I didn't really like the art. I got pulled in and I left because the writing was indecipherable. You know what is awesome? Awesome is Heroic Tales 2. It's some of Renzo. It's not some of. It is definitively the best work Renzo has ever done. And if I may do an aside for a second, I will show you something. Okay, let's get this. Come on. Okay, this is what I'm going to show. Okay, so always improving. Always got to improve. Always have to improve your work. So this is page 2 of Heroic Tales. Okay, this is what's on the page. I'm going to update it after this, after we do this talk. But this is the page 2. Okay, before lettering, he's flying down and doing what needs to be done. Okay, so this is that. Now, this is the updated. This is the updated coloring. What do you guys think? Night and day, literally. I just was vaguely unhappy and I couldn't explain why. So I just messaged Daniel and I said, can we work on this? Can we, the story is supposed to be dawn. He's waking up at dawn. He's a farmer. And it just changed everything. So yeah, always improving. So there you go. What do you guys think? Stop screen and put that back. All right. So that was I follow most of it, but art as well. Couldn't stand Image's first wave. Okay. Where am I? John is anti-editorial. Believe it or not, I just got feedback from my editor. I hired an editor. Ali Sangulis took the Mary Sue story is proto-lettered, meaning Bill said he didn't finalize the lettering. He put it in a stage that it's easy to change. So he sent it to me. I sent her. We're not changing the art or coloring or anything like that. So she sent it back to me last night. I was just too sleepy to read it. So I downloaded everything, all the suggestions. I'm going to go over it today and then send it back to Bill. So I got to work with an editor. John Byrne is anti-editorial. Oh, okay. That I don't know if he's anti-editorial or if he was just anti-Jim Shooter. But Jim Shooter did the unforgivable crime of being a boss. He told these creative types, it's like herding cats. He gave them deadlines. He stuck to the deadlines, and he legit made their stories work. And they never forgave him for that. Frank Robbins thought Cap could fly. See, I'm not the only one. It's good company, Frank Robbins. With difference to Everett, for me, comics work best 50-50. Okay, art without writing is a poster. Absolutely. Writing without art is a novel. Writing context, combine both make. Yes, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just clarifying my thoughts. That a writer described all of this. A writer, like if I was to describe this to Renzo, it would be a couple of paragraphs. Okay? So now Renzo was able to, or Sal Buscema was able to take all of those words and put it into art. So now that there's a little bit, this whole page is filled with art, but it's not filled with a lot of words. Yet the story's told. Does that clarify my thoughts? This story of this page is mostly told through the images, and then these words, the only writing on this page is stuff that can't be told through the artwork. You could even remove this. But what is this? This is telling you who Captain America is. He's been called the Super Soldier Supreme during World War II. He's the answer to the Nazi aggression. You know what I mean? Because they don't have the space to tell you who Captain America is. But this is Marvel saying we got to let people know who Captain America is. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. To me, it has to be a good story, and it has to be good art. But I think the art should do the heavy lifting as far as the storytelling and everything. The art, the writing, the physical words, because writing this is all writing. This, somebody said Ben is doing this, he's smashing this guy in the face, there's machinery, Captain America's diving, maybe not, maybe there's Marvel method, but you know what I mean. The writing is part of the artwork, but the artwork is to me the heavy lifting of the story. I hope I'm clarifying myself, and I'm not disagreeing with you, because if there's bad writing in a comic, I am out. I could talk about a couple of crowdfunding comics that I'm out with, and I think people know what I'm talking about, but I'm not trying to court controversy. I like it. Okay. I like the 2-page spread. It's a personal preference. I prefer great art and great writing. It's not just a picture book, but we all like, yeah, there we go. Absolutely. Absolutely. I like it. It's got Kirby machines, lots of actions, lots of detail to explore. Did anybody read Narwhal's Vatican City? I wonder what people think about it. I did not read it yet, which is embarrassing since Narwhal and I are going to be doing a show at Jason Sandberg. We're going to be doing a show Tuesday night. I ordered it. I get my comics from Discount Comic Book Service. So I get it once a month. So the last week of the month, they ship out my comics. So I'm usually a bit behind, but I'm getting a haircut tomorrow because my hair is absolutely insane. So the barbershop is right near the comic book store. So I'll probably go over and pick up a copy if they have it, just so I can show that I have it before, you know what I mean? You don't want to be on a show with the guy like, I didn't get your comic book, better. You threatening me? You better. I'm trying to, sometimes I lose context. Darkside is comics I like, but I always find Miller's book very dark. Yeah. Miller could be very dark, but at the same time, he has a book comic called Chosen, and it is super dark. And he has a book called Nemesis, which was so dark. I didn't read Miller's books for years because Nemesis truly, I was like, I don't want to support this. This is bad. This is bad. I don't like the way comics are going. And then I got a Starlight, and it was good. It was like wholesome and good, So he's all over the place. If you like comics, you're gonna like this. Okay. I feel sorry for Mere Mortal gets hit in the face by the ever-loving Thing. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Literally, you're getting hit in the face with a wall of bricks. I call them artsy-fartsy types. There you go. Artsy. I'm kind of artsy-fartsy, My wife laughs at me because of my movie choice. She likes Transformers and, stuff like that. And I'm like, what's the name of that movie, that French movie? One of my favorite movies. But the woman with Audrey Tattoo. That's the kind of movies I like. Hit the like button. John, I understand your thoughts. Jim Lee is a great artist, but he can't write a parking ticket. Absolutely. That's one of my biggest criticisms about Jim Lee. He is, he is what he is. I don't want to insult the guy. He's a phenomenal artist, but he's not a writer. The majority of his content is art, absolutely, but the writing has to be great, absolutely. Which is why I'm not a big fan of Jim Lee. This is exactly, I think we're on the same page with this. Jim Lee's art is beautiful. Put it on a lunchbox, put it on a t-shirt, make a poster out of it. But he is too big. Like if I was to work with Jim Lee, would he listen to me? Like, would he draw what I like? Because I write a full script. Would Jim Lee, or would he just like, I'm going to make more Batman poses and stuff like that? So I don't know if I'm flattering myself to even consider that he would work with me, but you get the point what I'm saying. Like if I was a movie director and here it is my first movie and I get Jack Nicholson, that movie's going to be a disaster. Jack Nicholson is not going to listen to me. He doesn't respect me yet. You need a Martin Scorsese to get a performance out of Jack Nicholson. You know what I mean? Like I need Joe Shabotnik to work with me. I work with that guy. You know what I mean? We're on the same level. If I was to work with Jim Lee, I think comic would sell. I would, come on, Jim Lee, do Heroic Tales. You know what I mean? Come on. Yeah. But is he going to do what I want? Is he going to do? I agree with you, but I don't think I'm articulating myself very well. This is why I love Stan Lee. Such great quotable quotes. I didn't like Miller's Nightclub. The art was horrendous. I didn't read it yet. I still got a stack of all the Miller stuff because he said he wanted to come back on my channel, but then I haven't heard from him. So let's see. So, what my thoughts on this 2-panel spread? Yeah, I like it. It's a little, I don't know. I think Jack Kirby or even John Buscema would have made it a little bit more spectacular, but it's good. This is just like B. It's like B. It's if I was to grade it at school level, it would be B. Whether it's like I know John Romita or John Buscema or Ditko would make it an A. But then again, I've never made it a secret that I like John Buscema's art more than Sal Buscema. I think Sal Buscema was the more successful one because I think he worked faster and did more pages. You want to handle something, Winghead? Handle this. But damn, Dim, don't let you back. And I love this. Bam. So he just punches Cap shield. Look at the energy conveyed. I love that. Cap evading. What a powerhouse. I've got to go to him like make him careless. Leap all you want, because when I finally connect, the only thing you're going to be picking up is your teeth. And then little banter. He goes, by the time you connect, the only thing I'll be picking up is my pension. How's that for a roast? And then he's just smashing this into an explosion. Show me where you're hiding, Wondar, before I run up a flagpole. Before I run you up a flagpole sideways. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like a good dig. I'm going to read that again because I totally messed it up. So show me where you're hiding, Wondar, before I run you up a flagpole sideways. Hold on, Ben. I know you were once Wondar's guardian, but Project Pegasus is too important for you to. You ain't listening, Masked Man, and that's too bad for you. Now, I love this. So Wondar is a character. I'll explain him later when he shows up. So Thing is busted into Project Pegasus to rescue Wondar. And I always say Wondar because it has 2 R's. So, but this is like the kind of stuff that only happens in comic books. Ben Grimm and Thing are friends. They like each other. They respect each other. But he just wails on him. And now is this like Ben Grimm threw this punch knowing Cap was going to block it? Or was he trying to murder Steve Rogers? Was he trying to kill? Because let's face it, every punch, when you're throwing a punch at somebody, it's potential murder. So superheroes just potentially murder each other all the time over a misunderstanding. Can you imagine if the rules were like this in real life? I'm at work and a guy walks into the room and I turn around and I potentially murder him, pick up a pipe. Oh, it's Phil. How you doing, Phil? Hey, let's go play poker. You know what I mean? But it works in comic books. This is one of those things that only works in comic books. Like Civil War, when I saw Captain America and Iron Man fighting, I'm like, they can never be friends again. They can't work together again after that brutal fight. You know what I mean? That's once you're that into murdering the other guy, you can't be friends again. Sorry. I could be cool and distant, but we can't be friends again. But comic books, Ben Grimm could try to murder Captain America, and Captain America is, let's be honest, Captain America is the good guy here. He's evading. So far Captain America didn't try to murder Ben Grimm, but Ben Grimm tried to murder Captain America. Look at that. Unless you want to handle something, Winghead, all right, handle this. Great dialogue. All right, let's get into the comments. I'm an odd duck. The more I see of Jim Lee's art, the less I like it. Again, I like his individual panels. I'm not really a fan of his comics, if that makes sense. I was never a fan of Jim Lee. I appreciate it now. So things are opposing out. Jim Lee was clearly influenced by John Byrne, but his work is too busy. Byrne balances high detail and no detail where needed. Too much detail means your eyes can't focus. Yeah, and Jim Lee adds unnecessary lines. Like his designs of all the 52 Why does Superman have lines all over his suit? It's ridiculous. And now they're incorporating it in the movies, and it's not right. Old Dirty Fatty thinks something I said was funny. Maybe it's my face. I like Volume 1, but Volume 2 is filled with Photoshop effects. The hair in general is just a big blob of digital ink. It distracted me a lot. What at Dale? What did Dale say? They're talking about. I don't know what comic they're referencing. Yeah, Ben Grimm is a hothead, famous. That's one of the reasons why I love Ben Grimm. Ben Grimm is very emotional. When he loves, he loves. When he hates, when he's angry, he's absolutely angry. I love that. I can respect that. It's kind of the way I am. I'm getting a in my dotage, I'm getting a handle on my emotions, but up until my 30s, you could play me like a fiddle. My emotions were on my sleeve. There you go. So Dark Rider, ride a skateboard. So now Captain America is like, okay, he hits a convenient button that fires a convenient ray and traps him in a force field. So again, Captain America does the good guy thing and restrains Ben Grimm. Now Captain America knows that Ben is acting. Ben, I just said, is a hothead. He's emotional. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He found out that Wonder is captured by Project Pegasus, and they're doing experiments on him. He did what a hero is supposed to do. So in his mind, Captain America was the bad guy. You and you'll see why this is such a big deal in a minute. So Captain America is explaining, Wonder is too powerful. We're not doing anything, man. I'm here to supervise it, and he calms Ben down. Ben's not liking it. He releases him, and I could see. Could you see the difference in the inkers, just in these two pages? This page is definitely Sam Granger, not Alfredo Alcala. You could see it in this face right here. Definitely different inker. Definitely different inker. And then what do we got here? Classic 6-panel grid. And it's weird. Does this bother anybody else but me that this panel is just slightly different than this one? Like, I want this gutter to go straight, and then it doesn't, and it makes me anxious, And I love these death elevators. Can you imagine if you get into a building and you have this elevator? Just a platform with all this. This is just the lawsuit about to happen. You know what I mean? No OSHA. When you work for the government, they don't need OSHA standards. Just have a platform with no freaking handrails, no walls, no safety measures, and make sure it's slippery. You know what they should do? They should just throw like water on it too. Why not throw water on it too? Just make it slippery. Fall to your death over here. That kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff I can't help but notice. And now that I'm in construction, that's making me laugh. Like this pipe. I bet you that's like the master circuit. You know what I mean? You break that off and the whole freaking building collapses. You know what I mean? It's don't they have any means of that kind of stuff? It doesn't bother me. It amuses me. That's a different world. So now they're talking, they're friends, and hey, it's that Leitner guy. Ben bumps into this guy. Now, did this guy bump into Ben on purpose? Did Ben bump into him? It's just one of those comic book things. So remember, Denton Leitner, aka Black Sun, from issue 21 rather. So that's a little editorial box. I think I'm gonna have my first editorial box in Heroic Tales, in Patriarch #1. We got Drac. Oh, I forgot the chat. Grey Wolf is here. Hiya, chat. How's everybody? Cool to see you. Good to see you. Sometimes I think almost everyone on the East Coast has a short temper. Fair enough. Why? Because there's so many people. Oh my God. And people misbehave. They don't follow. You get on an escalator and then they stop moving. No, keep walking. That's why I don't believe in government programs. You get money and then you stop working. No, the escalator is you walk faster down. And if you're not going to walk, move to the left. Let the fast people, you know what I mean? So, and then you wonder why I'm at. Slow walkers need to be euthanized. Slow walkers is the unforgivable crime. You know how Harry Potter has the unforgivable curses? The unforgivable crime in my life is slow walking. I got places to go. White Castle, I got to get there. I got to get there. Marcus Keller Grew, they're asking, it's the studio. It's the studio. And okay, Marcus is on point. The freshly polished death platform. Yes, that slowly lowers and slow gives you enough time to get nervous and nauseous so you could fall. Perfectly designed for death. Here you go. Here's the link for Don Jaws. It's a lot of fun. I was on it last night towards the end because, like I said, my wife, Saturday nights, usually my wife and I do something. Hey, Matt's here. Good morning, John. Sup, chat? How you doing, Matt? Me and Matt basically came up with the idea of It's Clobbering Time together. So Matt always has a welcome invite to come on It's Clobbering Time Friday night. East Coast all the way. So Matt, would you agree that the East Coast people kind of have a short temper? I would say East Coast down to like, once you get out of Jersey, Delaware people don't bother nobody. Delaware don't bother anybody. Maryland is, but I'd say like New York and New Jersey. There you go. But then again, let's be real. That's the only East Coasters, Not down there where Marcus lives. That's the South. That ain't the East Coast. So now we're talking to this guy. So Ben Grimm, for those of you who don't know, Ben Grimm saved this guy's life. He turned into Dark Sun, and because Ben's a hero. But what Ben doesn't know is this guy's a villain, and they're basically keeping eyes on him. So that's a little like whatever. So now they're look at this. Now that inking there, Marcus, you're an artist. Matt, you're an artist. Do you think that they're covering up a mistake? Was that rush? Because to me, that's real sloppy right there. And now I got to sneeze. Boston. Excuse me. Boston is rowdy too. I forgot about Boston. You're absolutely right. I forgot about that. So now they got prison guards. Now, one of my faults with that I find with Sal Buscema's art is the bad guys always have to have nasty faces. Now these, I spoke too soon. The NPCs, the minor characters always have the same faces, like the thugs, henchmen, and like the random shield agents. Like these guys have rotten faces, but they're not supposed to be bad guys. They're supposed to be just government workers, but they got these high-tech clubs. And here's Wondar in power restraining bands, and he breaks out. Suddenly, Wondar decides he had enough. Now, is it because he saw his buddy Ben? Made him think. That's what I would think. Otherwise, it's just too much coincidence. Forgive me, I gotta wipe my nose. It's just one of those things that, like Harry Potter puts on the invisibility cloak for the first time and then decides to go down to the bar, and they just happen to be talking about what he wants. That's like a writing thing, because it would be like reality Harry Potter should have been using that cloak and wandering around for weeks before he got any relevant information. But the movie doesn't have that much time. Just like this comic, did he make many attempts? But if they didn't say it in the writing, but they should have just said Wondar sees Ben and it inspires him. Boom, problem solved. And he's running. And now Ben is a softie. I love that his foot extends over the panel. That is just so cool. You see this line, and then it breaks again. Does that drive anybody else crazy? Marcus, Matt, you guys are artists. What do you think about that? That this panel is just slightly off. I mean, obviously it's an artistic choice. Obviously they did it on purpose. Does that, it doesn't bother me as much as the first time. Like over here, it doesn't bother me at all because every panel is different. But over here, it kind of bothers me. Hey, kid, it's me. It's your Uncle Benji. Uncle Benji. Oh, hi, Uncle Benji. I need you. And then they start hugging. So there you go. That's the secret why Ben is so protective of Wanda. He's got the mind of a child. He's got the physical body of an adult, and he's got the mind of a child. So he's vastly powerful, but he's got the mind of a child. That's a trope that I just don't like anymore. The super powerful child. The Franklin Richards is the most powerful being, and he's the kid. The chosen one. Whatever you see a kid in like comic book science, the kid is always the one. You know what I mean? And I don't particularly enjoy that. It's overdone. But there you go. There's Ben. That's Ben in a nutshell. And that's why I love Ben Grimm. He's gonna he hears that this, for lack of a better term, this retarded guy is being mistreated. Boom, Ben is there. Ben is there. And that's why I love Ben Grimm. That's why Ben Grimm, Superman, these are my favorite characters. And so now we got Marcus says, it doesn't bother me. We're talking about the art over here. Sal just needed a bit more room. He just needed a bit more room in one panel. Okay, yeah. That's, like I said, it's an artistic choice. He just wanted, now that Marcus made me think about it, it does convey the fact that he's moving. Yeah, so I don't know. Just the lines. Does the lines bother anybody? Like I said, now that I've seen it already, it's not bothering me as much now. That trope probably wasn't as overdone in 1978. Yeah, there's a lot of tropes that were fresh back then that I just can't stand anymore, like multiverse. Like there was a famous issue of the Fantastic Four where they found counterparts, and that's where Reed Richards was the Brute, and they had to, and it was, wow, that was cool. That was different. Like the Terminator going back in time, and that was so cool. All that stuff. Fantastic. The Enterprise in the Mirror Universe, evil versions of themselves. Now it's like, it's just overdone, and it's really a way out of consequences, and it's used to too much, and shock value. So a lot of tropes. I agree. Verse is so overdone. Yep. Hey, Cam is here. How you doing? Good morning, everybody. Good to see you, Cam. How's everybody? So let's get to the next page. Look at these shirts over here. Red Sonja wouldn't be caught dead wearing a girl on my shirt back then. This Thor shirt I always wanted. I had this Captain America shirt, and I always remember it shrank, and my fat belly was always sticking out whenever I wore it. So I only wore it like a few times. But this shirt I've always wanted. I still want this shirt. Matter of fact, I got to look up for this shirt. But these two shirts, awesome. I'll swear to be. I can't. Ben, I'll be with you through this whole mess, kid. I swear it. And I'll clobber the first guy that tries to harm you. I love that. That's Ben. He gets me emotional. He probably doesn't understand a word. I just hope my voice is convincing enough. So that's how dumb Wundar is. Ben is his legally appointed guardian. That's not an exaggeration. He's his legally appointed guardian. Ben is his goddad, taking care of the kid that he never had. And even he is not sure if Wundar understands English. So he's now going back with these. Look at that guy. He's got a big old gun and everything. And what are they doing? They think that there's some sort of connection between Wundar and the Cosmic Cube. And again, does anybody see the change in the art? That makes me think that this was like behind schedule, and the inking changed. That's why they have so many people. But this is literally the Cosmic Cube. For those of you who don't know, it's the Tesseract from the Marvel Universe movies, the MCU. And now we put this, machines on, put the goggles on. Now they care about OSHA regulations. Never mind the slippery platform of death up there. But now let's we'll put on goggles. Okay. All right. We'll keep the insurance people happy. And they got the Cosmic Cube all strapped up, and they're testing the Cosmic Cube with $1. Right? Multiverse equals bad, lazy writing. I'm warning you now. I do have a multiverse in Heroic Tales, but it's different. It's each universe is unique, because the laws of physics are different in every universe. You can't possibly have the same people, and anybody claiming to be is by ipso facto a liar. I had a role-playing game where my friend Paul's character is Magnum. He met another version of Magnum, and he was like, "Oh, you're from another," and it turned out it was a shape changer just messing with him, because I was trying to drive home the point that there are no duplicates. Heroic Tales still available on Find My Comic. There we go. Let's turn the page. So, Uncle Benji, are you here, Uncle Benji? And that's breaking Ben's heart. Let me know I did the right thing by not grabbing that poor kid and lambing out of here like I wanted to. Come on, mister. Tell me. What can I say, Ben? All the men in this room have that boy's safety uttermost in their minds. This guy's got his safety. Would you trust that guy to be your wife's gynecologist? Look at that. The life-loving simpletons. Their alleged pursuit of progress is about to suffer a slight setback. So again, OSHA standards be damned. This is the evil switch, just prominently over there, without a redundancy, without a without a lockout tag out. Again, OSHA be damned. This is the wild, wild west of government work. So no lockout tag out. Does anybody know what lockout tag out is? Am I talking? That's like a big deal in the electrical world. And he just throws the switch, and suddenly the young alien is bombarded with coruscating energy from a lashing power feedback. Is that your safety measures? I'm with you, Ben. There's no safety measures. Evil scientist McGinty over here, freako gynecologist guy over here, just throws the switch. This is the screw the whole experiment switch. And there's no lockout tag out. There's no safety net. There's no 2 keys required. So, Ben, you're turning that kid into Chris Bacon while we're standing here gawking. And then we got stop the presses. We got Logic's finest here. And I love this because he's going to pick up on something that I've been laying down. Different dimensions are hard. Multiverses are easy and lazy. When you lack creativity, you use lazy tropes. Same with time travel, unless it's the premise of existence. Okay, I think we're following the same thread over here. Again, I don't claim to be articulate, especially when I'm trying to host. Sounds as if you're using different dimensions, not a multiverse. Absolutely. Yes. To me, we use the term multiverse wrong. A multiverse is all the universes. That's the way so we got our universe and then another universe. So rather than say the universes, we say a multiverse. But that doesn't mean that this universe is a carbon copy of it. It's like parallel dimensions or whatever. So when I say multiverse, I'm talking about different universes. Not carbon copies. I say everybody else is using the multiverse wrong. How's that? But yes, we're talking about different dimensions. Because to me, different dimension, I don't know. But is this like a distinction without differentiation? If each is unique, then again, that word multiverse become a... Yes, I totally agree. Yep, that's how the feds think of us. Loving simpletons. I can't disagree with that. I cannot disagree with that. I contend that time travel stories are one of the hardest to write. Absolutely. Some have been successful with creative liberties. Yes. I will say this. My favorite time travel movie is 12 Monkeys. And as far as I can remember, that's the only one that did it right. That's the only one that did time travel right. Maybe Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I got to rewatch it to see if there's any problems. But 12 Monkeys is the only one that did time travel right. In my mind, you cannot change the past. And issue 4 of Heroic Tales is going to be my multiverse One of the stories is going to deal with the multiverse. One of the stories is going to deal with time travel. So there we go. There we go. Let's get there. Let's get there, please. I agree with you entirely. Different dimensions are unique and separate. Multiverses are just copies of each other. Okay. Yeah, I can't argue with that. We're just quibbling about the terms. You know, I use multiverse different, but I'm kind of not going to use the multiverse word because of some words got corrupt and there's nothing you could do about it. Like alt-right got corrupted on purpose. They corrupted that word. The alt-right used to just mean people who didn't agree with the mainstream, you know, right-wing party, you know. So and now it means Nazis and stuff like that. So that term got dropped. Another term that like the Demogorgon. The Demogorgon is not what it was in D&D. The Demogorgon is now that monster on Stranger Things. There's nothing I can do about it. You know what I mean? And then again, the D&D Demogorgon has nothing to do with where the term originated from. So, you know, so there you go. But there's a couple of words that I don't want to use anymore because what they mean is not in the zeitgeist. Have you seen Time Crimes? No, I have never even heard of it. I've never even heard of it. I don't know anything about it. I like H.G. Wells' Time Machine because it skipped the time paradox mostly. Yes, that's the thing about time travel. If you go far, the farther you go, the easier it is to deal with. If you go into the time travel, the dinosaur world or caveman times, you know what I mean, or the far flung future, it's easy to avoid the time. It's like when you go to the recent past, it gets really crazy. My favorite time travel comic book story is Alan Moore has in 2000 AD, he had a series of time travel stories, and it was collected in a graphic novel called Time Twisters. And I got to get the exact story, but it is the best time travel story ever written. For example, the negative zone is a different dimension, and current terms people would call it multiverse, but it's not. It's unique and not a copy. Yeah, absolutely. And that begs the question, is there a positive zone? Are we the positive zone, or are we the neutral zone? There you go. And if we are the neutral zone, that would explain why there's Romulans. How's that? All right, let's get to the next page. Look at Ben's face here. Look at that. Look at that face. I don't know what to make of it, but I love this. I love that. This is too friendly. Cap is cool. Red Sonja. It's Marcus. Who drew this? Is this John Romita or is this John Buscema? Who drew this? I'm not 100% sure. But to me, that looks like a John Buscema woman's face. I can always tell John Buscema by the women's faces. And I'm probably wrong right there. So let's check this out. That equipment's too carefully maintained for it to go haywire accidentally. It had to be sabotage. Listen, all of y'all, it's sabotage. That figure on the catwalk moving away from the override switch. So now he's leaping into action. You see these? This is the kind of stuff I do every day. These long conduits, galvanized steel. And then he's jumping over to this guy. And what does this guy do? He does the rare thing. He gets the drop on Captain America. Boom. And just look at this. Can you see his maniacal face? I don't want to bring it too close because that ruins the focus. But he's got a crazy face. And this is a perfect example of a catch-up panel as opposed to a mustard panel. Now, this meaning just fill the lines and have the colorist make an explosion, and it gives the artist time to catch up. You know, maybe he was behind schedule, like this low crop over. Just draw a couple of lines, circles. There you go. You got background. So I'm really thinking that they were probably pressed for time. You know, that's why they had so many inkers, because this is definitely. This is, you know, they're going back and forth. So I wonder if Sal Buscema had all the layouts done, and they just he among the different inkers like this. We got Captain America, pretty bad foreshortened leg. You know, if this was modern times right now, we would have all the anti-Ripper guys talking about how this art is bad, and then meanwhile back then we just was like, yeah, that leg's a little wonky, and then we went on to the next panel, you know, and then he's like, what's going on? Where did this guy come from? I'll never forget a guy with a punch like that. So Cap is a little bit groggy, and I always liked. I don't know why. I always liked when they showed the inside of Cap's shield with the buckles. Marcus Kelligrew. That ad was probably drawn by John Romita, inked by Joe Sennett. Okay, I'll buy that for $1. Romita, my guess. However, Red Sonja does look very Frank Thorne. Yeah, good point. Henry Jamak, good to see you. And that avatar gives me the desire to poop in my pants. I love those blast lines. Me too. I love them. I'm not saying anything bad about them. It's just cool. You know, it just works. I do the Rain Man thing too. I do it and drive my wife crazy. Okay. She'll talk to me and I'll just go, I'm not wearing any underwear. Oop, not wearing my underwear. Just get out of here. Go downstairs. Oh man, you got Lacey, does your husband pester you? You know, if you don't pester your husband and your wife don't pester, is it a marriage? Is it a marriage if you don't just drive your spouse insane? Sal probably did breakdowns like he did for a lot of the 70s. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. And then divide it amongst other inkers. So now we got Ben again. What Ben is just one of my favorite superheroes. Just he's just there's no deceit. There's like he's like a why can't I think of his name now? The Crocodile Hunter. What's the crocodile? Steve Irwin? Is that his name? Steve Irwin, the Crocodile Hunter. That guy had no deceitfulness in him. You know what I mean? That guy was pure. He was just, like Bob Ross and Steve Irwin. These are like genuine people. Renzo is one of these people. Just there's no guile in him. There's no deceitfulness. It's just, instant trust. And why? Because it just, what they say is what they think. They don't have the capacity to be deceitful. And Ben, if you lie to Ben Grimm, that's it. You're on his poop list for a long time. And he is the guardian of Wonder, and he's taking it seriously. And his gut told him that this was a bad place. Captain America has the ultimate charisma. Captain America's superpower is his charisma. In role-playing terms, he has heightened stats in charisma. Like, D&D, you roll 3 dice 6, so you get up between a 3 and 18 for your charisma. Captain America has a boost. Captain America probably has a plus 30. Captain America's charisma is as high as Ben Grimm's strength. Is the only way I could, like, if I was to make a card for Captain America, he would have like a 52 charisma and Ben would have like a 52 strength. You know what I mean? So his charisma was so powerful and charming that he actually overrided Ben's instincts. And then Captain America is, no longer doing the influence on him. Not that it's sinister. People have auras. Have you ever met somebody that their personality was so strong? You're like, this guy could sell, ice to an Eskimo kind of thing. But anyway, thank God he's out cold. But he's still breathing. And then this guy jumps in. Look at this. He's just, for some reason, this panel reminds me of Eric Larson. It just looks like an Eric Larson panel. And I have what I've come for, you orange-skinned misanthrope, the means to reshape the world as I wish. And before the thing's disbelieving gaze, the triumphant figure winks out, and I so wish. Some 1,000 miles away, chanting cultists. So we got some Cthulhu stuff over here. Some 1,000 miles away, chanting cultists fill the streaming air of the Everglades with a drowning cadence. Yagzan, Disorame, Metrophos, Yagzan Rana, Yagzan Ultra. I love that. Cultists, you got to have the robes, and then we got this corpse rising from the dead. Slowly the chant dies out, glazed eyes staring skyward at the pulsating pinprick of light, and then suddenly appears brightening and glowing as if being squeezed through some unseen portal. The eerie radiance bathes the startled onlookers as the growing globular mass twists and stretches and takes on the form of a man. Do not be fooled by my disguise. I am indeed your leader, Victorious, and I come brandishing the power to remake reality in our own image of the Entropists. Dun, dun, dun. If you don't remember, the former Victor Conrad from Astonishing Tales, then surely you recall the decay worshipping cult from Giant Sized Man Thing #1. So there you go. Brought you up to speed. So the Entropists are a cult that worship entropy, and this is their cult leader, Victorious Conrad. I don't know. The name just amused me. Victorious Conrad. I am Victorious Conrad. I love comics. He would probably say yes, but I think he likes it. Yeah. You got to bug your husband. And the only thing is, Lacey, do you have kids? Do you bug your kids too? You know, that's fun. That always makes. I don't have kids, but if I had kids, I would drive them crazy. The thing about time travel paradoxes. Excuse me while I cough. My iced tea is empty, so I'll take some coffee. The thing about time travel paradoxes, they make all rational sense. We don't have time travel, so we don't know what's real or not. Yeah. I want to deal, like I said, Heroic Tales 4. I want to talk about paradoxes and time travel and stuff like that. Captain America versus Batman. Who wins? Captain America. Captain America is the specialist. And I think we did that in its clobbering time. But I subscribe to the John Byrne method of the specialist is better. Captain America's specialty is fighting. He is the soldier. Batman's specialty is detective work. So when it comes to solving a crime, Batman's the go-to guy. When it comes to punching a guy in the face, it's Captain America. Captain America has to beat Batman in a fight because he's the specialist. Just like the Flash has to be faster than Superman. The specialist is better. Hey, Genuine Comics. We were just talking about you earlier. Good to see you, Dave. How's everything? Wonderful comic creator guy. Wonderful guy. Wonderful human being. Pick up Perfect 10. I think you're just about to ship now, or you are shipping. Great comic. That makes sense. Larson was influenced by Sal. I was talking about how this panel to me just looks like a Eric Larson panel. Oh, no kids. Okay, so your husband is he gets it with both barrels. That's fair. You say Batman wins. Okay, we got to disagree. Captain America's specialty is leadership. Yeah. Captain America, but to me, Captain America is the super soldier. And he's just like I wouldn't say the ultimate strategist. I would say he's the ultimate tactician, and he is the best leader in all of Marvel Comics. If you ask me, I think the second best should be Cyclops, but I'm the X-Men's got like 15 years of damage control that they got to work with for me to talk about the yeah. So there you go. Definitely. So let's get back to this. Poor Wondar is down for the count. Look at Ben, looking sad. Luckily, the costume Reed Richards designed for him absorbed some of the energy feedback. Still, he was hit so much. It looks bad, Ben. The little guy trusted me, Cap. How am I ever going to live with myself if he don't pull through, right? Ben, again, he wears that heart on his sleeve. And again, the crusty exterior. So Ben holds on to his humanity more than any other hero. And that's why I love Ben. He was dealt the worst hand of cards as far as superhero powers. Here you go. You got these cool, sexy flame powers. You can turn it off. You can fly around. You're the super smart guy. You got a sexy, super hot wife. You got kids. You got the perfect life. Adventure scientist. Here, you're beautiful. You force fields turn invisible, and you marry this cool guy, and you got kids. Hey, Ben, you're a rock monster. But yet he is, to me, the goodest. He's the goodest guy. He, like I said, he's a Pinocchio. He just wants to be a real boy. And that Pinocchio trope just pulls at my heartstrings. And yes, I do have a bunch of Pinocchios that I would like to introduce into Heroic Tales sooner or later. The first one does a cameo in the Heroic Tales #2. His name is Sergeant Stone, but he's kind of a Pinocchio, but at the same time, he doesn't want to turn back to normal. You know, he's kind of happy with it. He doesn't want to be a real boy. He kind of likes his life the way it is. So Ben's like, nice speech, Winghead. Try telling that to the kid they just took out of here on a stretcher. You know, he's just moping. You know, hands behind his back, like just good acting through the art. This impractical ship that's just cool. So what they did is they tracked that teleport, so that energy just winked out, and they picked up the signal in Florida. So you want to go to Florida and find out what's going on? He's like, are you kidding me? This guy hurt my godson. I'm gonna go. And then we got an ad over here, and I will address the chat. Yeah, books are a critical bias. They were waiting on some stretch goals, and I forgot to ship them. Oh, cool. Can't wait. That cover to your newest comic looks good. That comic looks good. I'll take Reed as second. So you Reed is your second favorite member of the Fantastic Four. Mine too. I in order of preference, Ben Grimm is my favorite of the Fantastic Four. He's my second favorite superhero next to Superman. I just love Superman. I love the good guy. My third favorite superhero is Captain Marvel, Shazam. But my second favorite member of the Fantastic Four is Reed Richards, then the Invisible Woman, and then the Human Torch. Why the Human Torch last? Because he's got the least amount of pathos. You know, he's got power. He's a good-looking guy. He's cool car guy. You know, then they made him a rock star. That, you know, he's got everything good for him. But he's still a good guy when push comes to shove. Like, he'll lose his powers and fight. You know. But to me, pathos is what makes a good superhero. You know, Batman should lose almost every battle against other superheroes. He's a normal man in a bat team costume. Him being better than people. Yes, I totally agree. I totally, definitely. Batman's not wearing any underwear. Batman's not wearing any. Wapner. But I agree. In my mind, Batman shouldn't be fighting superhero villains. He should be smart enough not to take on Daredevil. He should be smart enough not to fight Captain America. You know what I mean? He should be like, oh, Captain America's, I'm fighting Captain America. I got to do something. He's got to come up with trickery, deceit, and stealth to take out Captain America. But hand-to-hand fisticuffs, he should not be beating up the ultimate human form. You know, Batman's more agile. I mean, Captain America's more agile. He's stronger. He's got more experience. He should, in my mind, this is why I love Dave. Me and Dave are on the same wavelength. I absolutely agree 1,000,000,000% with this. Batman should not be fighting Captain America in a, you know, man-to-man fight. Batman should be smart enough to pick the time. You know, if they were forced to fight, Cap has got to crush Batman. It's the way it is to think, and that's gonna be my philosophy when I use my Batman inspired guy, the Raven. The Raven, you know, I'll be quiet. Hey, Agent Zero's here. How you doing? How's it going? When's the next issue coming out? When's the next issue? Excuse me. Oh God, this cough is. I just hope it goes away by tomorrow, because I'm not sick. Like I said, it's fumes. My favorite member of the FF is Mr. Fantastic. I like scientists, and Reed Richards is the smartest man in the world, and his tech is awesome, and his power is unique. At the risk of spoiling, I'm not going to say in the third appearance of Mary Sue, which I don't know where I'm going to put. So Mary Sue is obviously in Heroic Tales #2. She's obviously in Heroic Tales #3, but her third appearance is a little bit later. But she's smart enough to realize that she needs help, which, you know, so she's going to seek out my Mr. Fantastic. And my Mr. Fantastic doesn't stretch, but he's also a brawler. So just think of a great brawler who's also a scientist. Uh, and also she's going to learn from King Fu. So she's going to learn how to fight, you know. So yeah, and I can't wait for that because that is just going to open up the door to my golden age, the original superhero team. Yeah, the Reed Richards and the brawler character. I'm not telling you his name. I'm not telling you anything about him other than he's going to explain how to fight an electrical villain, and it's going to open the door to the golden age first superhero team of World War II. There was other teams before that, but they didn't really have the press that people don't know about. Don't make me post pages for Batman versus Hulk. Yeah. That's what happens when you have editorial dictating how a story is to go. That's a perfect example of that. Batman should not, you know. But then again, like there was really no definitive winner, but Batman shouldn't have lasted that long. Chrome Dog, not soon enough. Yes. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, I got distracted by my cough. Chrome Dog is comic. It's drawn by Luke Stone, and I got to say, have you seen Luke's newest art for Call Sign Orion? It's, I mean, obviously it's not John Byrne level, but it's getting there. It's getting there to the point like I would like to work with Luke Stone as an artist on a future issue of Heroic Tales, and I think I know exactly the story that I'd like him to draw. Batman's prep time is undefeated. Just jokes. I agree. You can't beat Captain America in a fist fight. Yeah, but like I keep saying, give Ben Grimm prep time and he'll take out Batman. You know, prep time is not Batman's superpower. Every superhero given prep time, unless he's Wonder, is gonna, you know, prep time versus non-prep time, you win. You know, Punisher with prep time is gonna take out Batman. You know, so either they both have it or they don't have it. Is the rules to it's clobbering time. I used to think it was stupid when I thought I could actually speak. I used to think it was stupid when superhero teams had non-powered street-level members like Puck from Alpha Flight, who started out as an acrobat. Throughout the years, I changed my mind. I love it. I don't know what it is, but I love when there's a non-powered like the example I always give is Team 7 from Image. Chuck Dixon wrote it, so therefore it was a well-written comic. But Team 7 had Mr. Majestic on it, you know, who is the Superman ripoff. But it was led by a regular Nick Fury type guy whose name escapes me. He became like the Nick Fury of the Image universe, head of IO and the father of Burnout from Gen 13. But I love that. I love like the non-powered, like Rick Flag running the Suicide Squad. I have a team that I'll probably introduce in Heroic Tales 5 that's led by a non-powered guy. You know, I just love that trope. You know, I agree. I never disliked it, so I guess we disagree. That first time in my life, I disagree with Dave Brink. Street level heroes are necessary so high powered heroes can focus on bigger threats. Yes, I love that. In my role playing example that I always give was my friend Jan and my friend Paul made a two characters. This was back when we were in college together, and Jan made a character called Prometheus, and Prometheus, he had all the powers of the Greek mythological titan Prometheus. So he had foresight. He could predict the future. So but it was not in the middle of the fight. Like he would have to be like in a safe spot and concentrate. And the more energy he spent in concentrating, the farther in time he could predict the future. And of course, it always came true because there's one timeline. But the thing is, if he rolled bad, I would give him vague details. If he rolled well, I would give him crystal clear details. So it always came true, but he could have misinterpreted the information that I gave him, which was really tough because with a lot of die rolls, how do I guarantee that that's what happens? So it was a lot of fun role playing him. He also had Prometheus, he stole fire, so he could generate fire. Why am I giving you this much detail? But the point is, he had 3 hit points. So he could regenerate like Prometheus, fireballs, predict the future, 3 hit points. None of his stats were enhanced. He looked like Peter Weller, You know, the actor who played RoboCop. He looked like Peter Weller in like a trench coat and a fedora. He was one of those fedora type guys. His partner, my friend Paul, made Dreadnought. Dreadnought was this Hulk robot who had 360 hit points. He could lift 125 tons at first level. Completely different level. One was street level, one was cosmic level, and they worked great as a team because Jan liked to solve puzzles, Paul liked to crush. So I would throw an intricate story, and Jan would pick up the pieces and solve everything, fight when he had to, and Paul would be like, go solve the thing. It was like Batman, Superman team up the way I envision it should be, as a non-superhero version of Batman. So yes, I love that dynamic. Wasp is on the same team with Thor, and nobody ever complained. FF's versus the Four from Planetary. I gotta say the Fantastic Four, right? I gotta reread Planetary. John, bro, turn the page, please. Okay. Ben Grimm isn't smart enough to use his preparation time wisely. He should spend all day arguing with Johnny. Ben is smarter than you think. Lynch, that's it. You're absolutely right. Lynch, thank you. Okay, so now I turn the page. Sorry, Henry. So now we got the Beatles. Marvel Superstars #4. That's actually right over here. I got to read that. I like checking out the names. Peter Protesky, David Glass, Jack Drew. That's a superhero name if ever I heard one. Jack Drew. They always like to see if these people came from anywhere near where I lived, but they didn't. Closest is Millerton, New York. Okay, so now, not so fast, Ben. Look at this. Talk about ketchup. A ketchup panel. Two faces. Ben's not even particularly well drawn. It's horribly inked. And then we just have red in the background. Tell me that wasn't, we're running out of time, guys. Go. And then the next panel, like red has nothing, like it should have been green, but then it would have blended into here. That's a mistake modern comics do. Is they're literal with the color in the background. You know what I mean? If this was green, your brain has a problem separating it. So the overall color scheme of this panel, of this page, if the overall color scheme of one page is all one color, it's kind of hard to figure out. So even though red makes no sense, it works. Why? Comic books. I kind of like Captain America in the shadow with the star. Now this big black blob. What do you guys think? I know we got a couple of artists in the chat. What do you think? To me, that just is. Are they covering up a mistake, or is it just rush? We got to finish this. Captain, Ben is the pilot. Sir, you can't stow it, fella. Mr. Grimm here probably knows more about this buggy than the guys who designed it. Now you're talking my language, flag face. Get in. And it takes off. I love this description. Stubby orange brick fingers race confidently over the controls. And within seconds, the silvery VTOL lifts off. So now what are they doing? They're flying from upstate New York to Florida. Let's get the camera down here. So they're flying from upstate New York to Florida. And they're landing over here in the swamp. And you all know where this is going. Y'all know. Listen. So now we've got them. We got snakes. We got Captain America over here. It looks like he's delivering a pizza. No, but he's got this like fancy schmancy Geiger counter that's tracking this semi-mystical, semi-scientific, magic science energy. Ben's dealing with snakes. Hey, I need a bath. What's wrong? Webhead, it's the needle. It's going wild. It's boom. It just gets destroyed by a blast. Don't worry about your ticket, toy cap. I think we found what we're looking for. Welcome, my fool. Hardly, friends, you have arrived at a most auspicious moment, for I am about to usher in a new order for the universe with your deaths. The era of entropy is upon us, where the day of victorious end, the entropic man. Says the entropic man. That's Victorious Conrad. What a revolting development. One of the greatest lines. And then we got Ben over here, Captain America with the shield. I don't know. It's just so much fun. The day, what is the tagline? The Day the World Ran Down. Guest starring the macabre Man-Thing. So you know that. So Man-Thing is going to be starring in the next issue of Marvel Team Up. Now, I'm not going to show the next issue because it doesn't have anything to do with Project Pegasus. It's just, about, or should I? You guys tell me. Do you want to see the next issue? Because I want to do the Project Pegasus storyline. So there we go. So while you guys are digesting that, let's look at Star-Lord. That's how Star-Lord looks in the comics. Stan's soapbox. You know what's funny? Every time I read an old comic, I look and I check out what he's talking about in the Stan soapbox, because I remember plainly there's a couple of Stan soapboxes that would get him canceled today, but of course in the past 10 years or so they would pick and choose which. I don't like racism. There was a famous Stan soapbox from like 1971 that like racism and blah 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 is bad. Like, congratulations, you agree with 99% of the population of the earth. Nazis are bad too. You want a pat on the back for that too? But there's a couple of pretty spicy takes from Sam, and I don't want to talk about them until I actually find them. But some of them are pretty good. Spider-Man meets the Home Wrecker. Now you better believe I have an NPC, a character called the Home Wrecker. Now, what? I'll give you guys a chance. Knowing how I design characters, I come up with a name and everything falls from the name. What would the Home Wrecker be? There you go. So what would the Home Wrecker be for Longbox Comics? But I love this, the Home Wrecker. Look at that guy. Look, hey, that looks like my partner at work. And he gets defeated by fruit pies. Fruit pies are of the devil. They're disgusting and they're horrific. And there we go. More ads. Karate kick. We should. Oh my God. Oh my God. I got to do a karate ad in one of the comics with King Fu. Oh my God. Fishing. And this Jack Davis Spalding ad. Not a basketball fan, but I love this art. Love that. You see Jack Davis right down there. Okay, so there you go. Let's talk now. As you know, I'm done with the comics. Wow, 2 hours. But as usual, I'll keep talking as long as the chat keeps going. So let's look everything. So Genuine Comics said Lynch. Yes, Lynch was the name of the character whose name I couldn't remember. I shuffled my Planetary hard books around yesterday. They're in my pile to reread. I love Planetary. I absolutely love Planetary. It's so good. Warren Ellis. I know he was accused of non-crimes. He was accused of having game. He was accused of being Riz master. I don't know. I'm trying to. It's gross when old people try to use young slang, isn't it? Probably covering up a mistake. You were talking about that black patch on the thing. Yeah, I think so too. Modern comics use different paper stock and digital drawings, so the coloring looks different. Yes, absolutely. The art looks different since it's not graphite pencils. Like a modern comic on modern paper with modern color looks fine. But what I don't like is when they take these old comics and they put them on modern paper. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look like there's a whole generation of people that are seeing Jack Kirby with weird colors to my eyes. Like, did any of you guys have kids and the kids are seeing Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Buscema artwork on newsprint for the first time? And what do they think? That's something I would like to talk about. A nitpick, but I prefer the older paper stock and pencils. Yeah, I agree too. I agree. See, Logic Finest and I agree more than we disagree. And even when we disagree, I think it's because I didn't articulate my point that well. Black Blob, probably just a bad shadow choice. How could it be a mistake of what? The rock pattern thing? Yeah. I think they would just like maybe in my way of thinking, maybe Sal Buscema just drew the outline of the thing and left the details to the inker, and the inker was just like, I'm rushed for time. That's what I think. I think the softer muted colors look better than the current stuff. Yes, I agree. Warren Ellis paradoxically, ironically, was accused of being too sexy. Yes, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Warren Ellis had a message board, and yes, I did go to the message board because I was a big fan. This is like around, I don't know, 2005 or so. Message boards were a thing. I still have a message board. I still have a forum. Villains, go www.villainsvigilantesforum.com, and you can get a lot of spoilers for long box comics. I can't say Heroic Tales anymore because I'm gonna do a Patreon comics. I will officially have 2 titles. So long box comics. I love message boards, and then message Borgs. That's a good Freudian slip. They became a Borg. You had to have the same opinions, and I just lost interest in them. But he had a bunch of women on it, and Warren Ellis was a pig. What do you want me to say? He was asking adult women of their own agency to post pictures of them topless, and they would write like on their boobs, "I'm Warren Ellis's bitch. I'm Warren Ellis's hoe. I'm Warren Ellis's girlfriend," or whatever. Use me, Warren Ellis. And they weren't the hottest chicks in the world. A lot of these girls, if you were to see them topless on a beach, you'd be like, "Ooh, God, put a top on." You know what I mean? But what do you want me to do? Warren Ellis likes his women thick. What do you want me to say? He likes them chunky. So that's great. And the funny thing is, Heidi McDowell was on that message board, and she actually said, "I left the Warren Ellis board. It was just filled with sluts." Heidi McDowell's own world. Now Warren Ellis, fast forward 20 years, 10, 15 years, 18 years, whatever. All these women are like, he used me, he used mesmerism on me, he used Svengali, I'm a woman, I'm a full-grown woman, I need the right to vote, I could do everything like a man, but I don't have any responsibility for the consequences of my own choices. Because Warren Ellis would meet these girls at comic conventions, do the love and dovin', and then literally the next night meet another girl, do some love and dovin', and it's not like Warren Ellis is the most handsome guy in the world. He kind of looks like Uncle Fester, but that's what you do. Rock and roll's got groupies, comic book guys got groupies. I got no groupies. Much to the happiness of my wife. My wife is my groupie. So there you go. So now they're all saying they want an apology. There's victims of Warren Ellis, but nobody accused them of a crime, and all they did was sabotage this guy's career. Why? Because Warren Ellis did nothing wrong. He's a creep. It ain't illegal to be a creep. There you go. Heroic Tales number 2 brings you right to the rewards page, right to the nitty gritty. I distinctly remember when women loved Warren Ellis writings. No wonder he's got a lot of Warren Ellis was edgy. He was the bad boy in comic books at the time, and I still like Warren Ellis. A lot of people don't. Warren Ellis to me walked that fine line of like he bent characters but didn't break them. When he was working with Marvel and DC properties, he was edgy with them. To me, his biggest distasteful thing was Pete Wisdom and Kitty Pryde having like a love romance. It just bothered me because where did Pete Wisdom come out of? He came out of nowhere, and now he's gone. He was like a one-note character, and seducing a girl who is supposed to be the young, naive teenager. I know now she's not. That to me was a little. I don't want to think about it. You know what I mean? Did I ever read Dreadstar? I read a couple. I read the graphic novel, and then I read a couple of miniseries, and I have the entire Dreadstar thing. I read a bunch of them out of order. Now that I got all the missing ones, I got to sit down and reread it all in order. I'm a big fan of Jim Starlin and Mike Grell. Right? Why did I say Jim Starlin? It's Mike Grell. I think the traditional art market will appreciate and value because it's becoming more rare, but they have to be excellent. Yeah. I did you keep your shirt on? What are you talking about? This shirt? Yeah, I've been wearing this shirt since Friday night because I'm a disgusting person. Now is that what you're talking about? Or did I take my shirt off for Warren Ellis? Oh, did I keep my shirt on? yeah, nobody wants to see the I was a lot heavier back then. At one point, I was 350 pounds. Nobody wanted me to take my shirt off. He was a John, and they were the prostitutes. Warren Ellis did some crappy shit. Like he did tell these girls he would help them with their career and stuff like that, you know, and then loved them and left them. You know, it was quid pro quo, but he didn't make them comic book pros. I don't know. No, you John, I mean the Oh, okay. So did customers of prostitutes ever read Dread Star? I'm easily amused. I never went to War Salad boards. I hung out at Dixonverse. I remember the Bendis boards were all about drugs, and CBR was all about superhero battles. Yeah, I didn't go to the Dixonverse. I don't know why. I went to the Jeff Johns board because I was loving Jeff Johns stuff like on JSA and everything like that. I was a member of Burn Robotics, but I just backed out because it was just too easy to have John Byrne pissed off. And I'm like, if John Byrne blocks me on Burn Robotics, it's gonna cause irreversible life trauma. So I think I did one thing. I read a bunch, I posted one thing, and then I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here before the inevitable ticking off of John Byrne. I was on the Marvel forums and I was on the DC forums. And the DC forums, and I was on Newsarama. If anybody was on Newsarama, DC forums, Warren Ellis, I used the name Food Eater Lad, and I was legendary on Newsarama, and then later on the Outhouses. I was the bad guy because I was the lone conservative, and literally it was people making fun of me for years. I could handle it, and I kind of liked the fighting back then, but I've since grown out of it. But if anybody could find any archives of the Outhousers or Newsarama, I had a 1,000-page thread. I was pretty happy. I actually had a Wikipedia page at one point about how I was a jerk asshole as Food Eater Lad. And then eventually I got banned from both forums because, you know, just after a while, it's just like, how many straw man attacks, and then you defend yourself, and then you're like, screw you, asshole. And then now I'm the bad guy, you know. I read all of Dreadstar. Dreadstar is Jim Starlin. Star Slayer is Mike Grell. I got them both, didn't read them both. Yes, Star Slayer is right here, about to be read. Dreadstar is still in the back because I got too much over here. So yeah, Dreadstar, I read the graphic novel. I read it. There's a couple of limited series later on. Yeah, but I mixed them up. Dreadstar started Epic Magazine. Yep. I got the last issues of Epic that I haven't finished. It was called Metamorphosis Odyssey. So yes, Chuck is a nice guy, but I'm not really a Dixon guy. Chuck is great. And I could, you know, he's got a distinct style. And if you don't like that type of story, I think I could see. And when I say type of he has a distinct style of writing that you could pick up. It's a Chuck Dixon story, even if it's time travel, even if it's sci-fi, even if it's Western, even if it's superheroes. You could. I don't want to say he has a formula because he doesn't, but he has a style that I always recognize. So there you go. I'm up to all the comments. I got 2 questions for y'all. Should I do the next issue, even though it's not technically part of Project Pegasus? Because I want to do the Project Pegasus. That's like 6 or 7 issues. And for It's Clobbering Time, what do you guys think of writers versus artists for comic books? What do you think about that? How do you think of them apples? I'm kind of glad I missed the whole message board thing with comics. For the most part, back in the message board era, they were the artists themselves, the writers themselves were fine. Jeff Johns was always a gentleman. His interactions were always great. You know, keep in mind this was their message board, so I think they didn't want to kick people off the board. You know, this was them interacting. They had moderators that were kind of jerky. So, you know, but I never went to Mark Waid's message board. I don't even know if he had a message board, but at the Marvel message boards, you didn't really interact with the writers directly. I did have a few interactions with Kurt Piasek, and he was pleasant. He was actually pleasant. He was a member of my forum for a while, and I'm talking, I had 30 members at the time, and Kurt Busiek was talking about comics to me directly on my own. He was fine. Now he banned me on Twitter and Blue Sky because he's an absolute politically deranged lunatic these days. But back then, you know, Dan Slott was the harbinger of the new way. You know, he told the customer to F off, and he never got in trouble. So I guess that kind of behavior encouraged all the other rights to turn into the crazy creeps that they are. But back then, Jeff Johns was pleasant. Warren Ellis was pleasant. John Byrne was always snarky and always unpleasant to deal with, to the fact that I knew that going in. So I backed out before it happened. But I'm trying to think of other people that I directly interacted with. But for the most part, it was the other fans. There was a girl called Shazam Girl that unbearable, insufferable. Jude Law, insufferable. I'm trying to think of other names for people, but it was mostly the other people that were just the worst. Brian Michael Bendis is patient zero for all things woke at Marvel Comics, and I have nothing nice to say about him. So all I say is nothing nice. I will say that I do like Powers. His own comic book Powers is awesome. It's police. It's a police procedural in a world of superheroes, which now kind of sounds trite, but at the time it is great. So I was really excited when he went to Marvel Comics, and that excitement did not last to the point I'm like, is this the same guy? Is this the same guy? You know, his obvious excitement, enthusiasm for his own creator-owned comic did not translate. Like, and it's fine to be edgy at deconstruction with your own stuff. I will forgive that. You know, so Powers had, like, you know, obvious mock-ups of other superheroes, like their, you know, their version of the Hulk could be a pervert and stuff like that, because it's not the Hulk. But then when you know, I just didn't like what he did with established characters. Excuse me. Writers win. Okay, so Dave, you gotta show up. So I'm thinking of two things for It's Clobbering Time: either the Patriarch versus Six Gun Gorilla under the condition that Brian Christow shows up, or writers versus artists if I don't hear from Brian Christow. You know, Major Malcolm Wheeler Nilsson versus Martin Goodman. Who is more important to modern comics? Cool, that's a good one. Yeah, Bird banned legions of people. That's why I left before I would get banned. I would say Martin Goodman, since he let Stan Lee take over. Miles Morales is Miles Morales. Peter Parker is the only Spider-Man ever, full stop. Unfortunately, it's not objectively true, because there is Miles Morales as Spider-Man, but I agree with what you're saying. Miles Morales is Miles Morales. And if I was to take over Marvel Comics, I have a story to fix Marvel Comics, acknowledging all of the bad stories, because to me, you can't just to reboot it. I don't like that. But I would I would restore Marvel Comics, acknowledging all the problems and using that as we got to do better, we messed up kind of thing. But Miles Morales, okay, he's now in the Marvel universe. He's Miles Morales. He exists. No character is inherently bad. You know, even Wonder is not inherently bad. So I would have Miles Morales. You know, in the What If issue, they made him Thor, and then they made him like Captain America. They're acknowledging that his superhero persona is fluid. So I would call him Zeitgeist. So Miles Morales discovers that his real power is copying whatever's popular. So Miles Morales would be a stand-in for all of these tourist fans. That's a good name for him too, the tourist. You know, that's his real power is whatever the zeitgeist is focused on is what he mirrors. So Spider-Man, he becomes a copy of Spider-Man. Fantastic Four has now got a Marvel. Like I would make him the most meta superhero. Was that Freudian slip? You know what I mean? Like, so like whatever Marvel is pushing at the time, Miles Morales is, and it's just that way. He can be Spider-Man, he can be Thor, he can be Captain America, but he's uniquely his own character. That's what I would do with him. But what do I know? I'm just a fat slob who's can't wait to inhale those ding dongs that my wife bought. Bendis should never write anybody else's characters. I agree. I will say that Brian Michael Bendis is patient zero for the woke virus, but I will say that Quesada is the Dr. Fauci who paid the gain of function to release the woke virus upon us all. He's not without a sin. Ben Riley is like, what am I, chopped liver? Yeah. I don't mind Miles Morales, but Peter Parker's my Spider-Man. My problem with Miles Morales is he was created to circumvent creator rights. He was created in case the Ditko estate won the case and took the rights of Spider-Man. You know what I mean? So he was created he scabbed Spider-Man. He's Spider Scab. Miles Morales monthly. That's a lot of M's. Ben Riley shouldn't exist either. You guys know how I feel about other characters with the same name. Like I will accept, like, the Superman family established the dynamic of a female. Like, if you got Superman, I'll accept Supergirl, and I will also accept Superboy. But that's about it. That's about it. You know what I mean? So, like, Spider-Man, Spider-Girl, Spider-Boy. That's about it. Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Spider-Girl, Spider-Boy. That's it. 4 at the most. 4 at the most. Anything other than that is redundant. Now, I will accept other spider-themed heroes if they have their own name, like Silk. Silk kind of works. I kind of like that. Silk is a good name. That's her own name. She could become her own person. But Spider-Gwen, no effing way am I accepting Spider-Gwen. You know, what's her real name? Ghost Spider? Like, you can have more lizard characters if you come up with different lizard. You could have Dr. Alligator versus Captain Crocodile. You know what I mean? But, echoes of the same character, it just dilutes the character. Miles should have a new gender every month. There you go. Gender boy. He could be called gender fluid, and he remorphs like an amoeba. John, I would move forward, act as if Marvel Reborn never happened at all. Zero acknowledgement. Let the woke suffer. Yes. Marvel Reborn, yeah. It's funny that they just referenced Marvel Reborn, and to me, because I just read the Fantastic Four run with James Robinson, the writer who wrote Starman. So I'm reading Fantastic Four like 10 years late. I just got the first 4 issues of the Dan Slott Fantastic Four because they're in a dollar bin in the store by me, so I pick them up. They referenced Heroes Reborn, and it was very satisfying. There was an explosion at the Baxter Building, and all of these negative zone beings came out and caused havoc. And the big reveal was that they were the Heroes Reborn version. So it was that funky looking Iron Man, that horrible looking Hawkeye. It's great. Ben Grimm is on the phone, and he's just like, I got a really bad version of Hawkeye aiming at me, and it was the Rob Liefeld Hawk, and they beat the crap out of them all. It was very satisfying to see the Heroes Reborn characters just beaten up, hauled away like garbage. So Logic, I totally understand where you're getting, but for a guy that hated them, it felt good to see that. It felt good to see that. Miles Morales is the ultimate DEI. I can't argue with that. I cannot argue with that. My problem is he exists, so therefore you have to do something with it. You know what I mean? And I'm the crazy one. I admit this, Logic's finest. I'm the crazy one. You're the logical one. And you're fine at it. Hence the name. I'm the crazy person. I subscribe to that theory. Like in Misery, I said this before. Like, nope, Misery was buried. She was in the ground. You can't just ignore that. You can't say it was a dream. You can't say it never happened. You have to acknowledge that and use that in the story. That I subscribe to that theory. Ra's al Ghul versus Fu Manchu. Ra's al Ghul, because Fu Manchu was a scientist. Like, we're talking in a fight. Fu Manchu, as far as I know, I read the first Fu Manchu novel. I never saw him really doing the fighting. He was always the evil mastermind that would probably take like 1 or 2 punches, but then come back to life because he's an alchemist, So Ra's al Ghul. Spider-Gwen, she's the worst. She's the worst. Spider-Gwen is a stupid name. I'm glad. I'm glad. Ironheart is actually an excellent name, but it's a bad implementation. Oh, nobody answered my question. How would you do Homewrecker? So, Homewrecker. Tell me what Homewrecker is like in Longbox Comics. Nobody answered my question. But that, so I do have, I don't want to say good guy. I don't want to say bad guy. I don't want to say man. I don't want to say woman. I'm just saying Homewrecker. How does Homewrecker work in my comics? And Homewrecker might show up in issue, what are the issues of the Patriarch? Captain America enters public domain in 2036. Would you write a Captain America story? I do not want to use any. I don't want to use public domain characters. I want to use my characters. I want to play with my toys. I don't want to put my effort, spend my money making. I mean, it's probably dumb of me because I could probably make more money making a Batman comic book, but I want to play with my toys, if that makes sense. And like I don't want to use like the Black Terror or all of these other public domain characters. I want to use my characters. I don't know. That's the way I am. I would go the nuclear action. I'm hire writers and artists to come back, fire all the woke books, all abruptly changes. Yeah. Well, I would go nuclear. Just you're all fired. All the editors, all the art, everybody's fired. Get all new guys. Get Dave Brink. Get Marcus Kellegrew. Get Renzo. Get all of these great guys. Get Chuck Dixon if like he says, if he could take the pay cut. Mike Barron. Get all of these guys. I totally agree with you. But to me, I would have to acknowledge it. And you know what? Because it would be satisfying. It would be so satisfying to show these woke writers your stuff was crap. And look what we're good writers. We actually took your crap and made good stories out of it and fixed it. You know what I mean? And we'll do it again if we have to, because you guys are crap. But I agree with you. Because Marvel has just ignored stuff that they didn't like before. So there is precedent for it. But yeah, I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Miles Morales goes away, ignored, zero acknowledged, ever buried along with all the woke and back. So, logic is on a tirade. I'm kind of loving it. Homewrecker reminds me of She-Hulk. Okay, now we're getting there. Homewrecker, I would make her like Titana, tall, sexy, and tough. Also tries to seduce everybody's house. Bingo, that's Homewrecker. She's muscular but sexy, and she's super strong, and she's got a high libido. Homewreckers, he can manipulate, turn them into raging feminists. Well, typically, yeah, but Homewrecker, I was talking about because Dave, I don't know if you were here for this, but Spider-Man meets the Homewrecker, and he's a literal construction worker wrecker, like the wrecking crew. But I had a character named Homewrecker. She was a female villain in my role playing. So I just said, knowing how I take a name and then build everything from that, what do you think I would do with the Homewrecker? And this is exactly it. Homewrecker, like Titana, tall, sexy, and tough. Also tries to, yeah. So she's like flirting. So when she fights the Patriarch, she's going to be flirting actively. And if the Patriarch was to stop fighting, she would do the lovey-doveys with them. She's a homewrecker. You know what I mean? She that's one of her things. She wants to destroy your marriage. She's, she'll fight you physically. She'll fight you morally. She'll fight you spiritually. So so there you go. My satisfaction to see them seethe as we ignore their woke nonsense. Okay. We've met someplace. We meet some. I need Marcus Kellegrew to draw Sydney Sweeney as Power Girl for DC or Sydney Sweeney as Black Widow for Marvel. I'll give him full. Yeah, see Sydney Sweeney in a superhero costume. Let's be realistic, And yeah, they already did it, but nobody saw that movie. I didn't see that movie. So there you go. I'm all caught up. How's everybody doing? Any plans today? Last night I had a really, like I said, I'm rewriting the origin of the Patriarch because it was going to be half of Heroic Tales number 3. So now it's going to be all of Patriarch number 1. So I have room to expand the story. and I had a really cool idea last night. I'm really excited about this idea, so I gotta rewrite it. What you do anyway. You constantly. Dave, since I got here in the chat, how many times do you write an issue? Do you write a script and then that's a rough draft? I'll plot it out, and then I mess around with the plot over and over, like the outline. I'll mess around with that a lot. But usually I don't rewrite the full scripts over and over again. Like I try to get every character. I try to get the plot worked out. Do you have a character called the Cuckold? No, I don't, and I don't even want one. Yeah. But no, I do. But I do have a character called the Cuckoo, who is a terrifying villain that my players are terrified of. Laughing at that. So anything, Marcus? Do you have a story for that? Have Tonic Ball draw Sydney Sweeney as Power Girl. That's a match made in heaven. What else do you want to talk about? At this point, I usually give my week's itinerary. So let's check out what I'm doing for this week. So Monday, I got nothing scheduled. That's usually game night. But I think do I have something scheduled? No, I have nothing scheduled. So Saturday, okay. So Monday, I got nothing scheduled. Tuesday. Oh man, do I have a conflict of interest? Oh, I got to check. But Tuesday, I'm supposed to be on Pete Sabetti's channel, and then I realized that I'm also doing my first. I don't know what we're calling it, but it's gonna be Narwhal, Jason Sandberg, and myself. We're gonna be talking about Mr. X, and then Pete Sabetty. So I got to check, make sure that I got time to be on both of them. Oh, geez. Wednesday, I got Frankie Washington on at 7 p.m. and I don't have a guest lined up for Comic Book Team Up. I got to get a guest for Comic Book Team Up. Thursday at 9 p.m. I'll be on Renowned channel. They call him Sturgis. I don't know if I'll be on his channel to talk about a comic, but I don't have a guest lined up at 7 p.m. And then that's really it. Oh, and it's clobbering time. Maybe I'll have Oscar for doing art with Oscar again this Friday. See if he's interested in that. And then it's clobbering time. If Brian Christow gets in touch with me, it'll be you can see my calendar. If it'll be Six Gun Gorilla versus the Patriarch. And I would like to do it because to have the two creators of the comics talk about their characters like that. And then if not, we'll do writers versus artists for comic books, to have a philosophical battle. And that's my schedule for the week. As always, can I please interest you in checking out Heroic Tales 2? I really need to get like over $5,000 so that we could have an issue 3, because I just can't afford to lay out the money. I don't know what else to say. Petey Ma. Oh, good morning. Was anything special done for Superman Day? Yesterday was Superman Day? I didn't know it. Yeah, my wife and I went to go see The Chosen at the movie theater. That's what we did for Superman Day. Oh, never mind. That's June 12th. Okay. Okay, that'll give me time to prepare for Superman Day. All right. So I guess that's it. I'm done talking. Wow, 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. I don't know what else to say. Sundays are my. Oh, I just realized I'm going out to lunch with my friends. I got to get going. I forgot all about it. Yeah, I got to see if they message me. So, yeah, all of a sudden I just realized I got to go get cleaned up and meet my friend Mike and Dan for lunch. So I got to go. Bye-bye, everybody.